Hey everyone, and welcome to the Co-Op Syndicate. Make sure your mic's on.
Hello. There you go. Now I'm on.
Sorry about that, guys. Hey there, guys. Welcome to the Co-Op Syndicate, and this is episode 25. I am your co-host, Michael C. Moore.
I'm your other co-host, Jordan G. Marcos.
And today we're going to be talking about basically all the game reveals that have happened in recent news, like Horizon Forbidden West. But yeah.
Yeah.
Actual history. He's a nerd for those sorts of things, so he knows.
Yeah.
Regardless of that, I guess I'll let you start the conversation because you're the one who really wanted to talk about this. What I did want to let you guys know, for all of you who listen in to us and watch us on YouTube and Twitch and stuff, is we are going to start changing up how we do the our content, mainly on the YouTube, because we've just been doing the long episodes for now, and that's fine, but we're interested in starting to upload clips. We're also going to start doing smaller episodes because we want to start making the longer ones include multiple topics, but we also want people to find, to have videos be accessible about specific topics that they only want to care about, in case you guys don't want to hear our full conversations. So we're going to be doing that stuff too, and we might start doing let's plays and stuff of some games as well as time permits, because Jordan's a little bit more tight on time than I am.
We're mostly going to be sticking to the new stuff because obviously we want to show new stuff. We don't just want to be like, yeah, we're going to do a let's play of a NES game or something. No, we're going to try and stick to relevancy so you guys can see all the new stuff at the same time that we do, and we can give our thoughts live on TV, right? Correct.
So these are the things that we're going to be looking at. And then again, thank you to you guys who listen to us over on the Buzzsprout. You guys are phenomenal and amazing. We also decided that we're going to start restreaming. So if you guys check, we're actually live on Twitch right now, as well as we're also live on YouTube. We'll be doing this for a while, and then if eventually, probably whichever one picks up the most steam, we'll just end up sticking to that. But we do have a small audience on Twitch. We have a small audience on YouTube. So now we just give people a chance to watch us wherever they'd like to watch us. So I guess that's enough of an update for what's going on with us. I guess we did want to start doing different segments for the show, depending on what it is that we want to talk about for the day. And I guess today we're starting with a current events type of deal.
Well, it's not. I mean, it's not just current events, right? What I wanted to do is to give more context to it. It's obviously I wanted the game reveals the same way that other people do, but I obviously want to give our impressions of it, because recently we were going to do the episode on Thursday, but of course, unfortunately, many things happened in which some people had some emergencies in the family and we couldn't go live. But we did have an interesting conversation right before we were getting close to going live, and in doing so, we ended up coming across an interesting topic talking about the idea of what was it again? Oh yeah, E3 downgrades, right? So we're also going to be talking about that today because Michael brought up an interesting point where he feels he feels very stumped by every single gaming company in the universe, because every time they show something off, it never looks like the final product. And we're gonna have that towards the end, obviously, as sort of a mini siloed episode within the episode. But for now, we're gonna do the reveals. We're gonna give our own conjectures of it, our opinions. How close do you think? I mean, how close the final product we think is gonna end up to what is being showed. So
exactly. Hey there, by the way, Lime's on Twitch. How you doing, buddy? Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the stream.
Welcome back.
The people love the restream, dude. We just got hit with a restream. People like it. They like watching where they like watching.
On YouTube.
People who don't watch it on YouTube, they want to stay on Twitch. That's fine.
Not fine for me. Whatever.
You complain too much.
I complain. Yes.
So anyway, cynical. So what did you want to get started? What did you want to start with, man? Because I feel like you had the general. You kind of had an outline for what you wanted to do today, and I don't necessarily know what you want to start with. So
well, we'll save the best for last, in my opinion, and we'll start with the one that we haven't seen yet, which is Far Cry 6. So if you want to go ahead and pull it up so we can see on stream with everyone. Well, actually, I mean, I like I said, I haven't seen it yet. I was going to see it yesterday, but I want to save it for today so we can watch it together and kind of talk over the opinions together. Right there, you can see my latest Returnal release for my walkthrough. But anyways, hold on, I'm not sure. Make sure that's the date. Oh yeah, one day ago. There you go. That one. Okay, so I think this is the one. And then right there, the second video right after that would be the next video we'd go to. Let me see if I can get it to come up on the TV. Remove the mute. If you remove the mute, will it affect the live stream? Okay, just. Well, I'm trying to go for the one that doesn't get us copyrighted, but.
I send the audio one way, so it's either gonna get sent to the speakers or it's gonna get sent to the system.
Oh,
which
we
is
gotta
getting
set
sent
it up like how Sergio does, where we can hear it, but then wait, how did we do it last time? That we streamed the
PS5, so it's separate.
Oh,
I could either only send it to my.
Oh, what you'd have to do is turn off desktop audio then, so it doesn't pick up the audio of the desktop. Far Cry is a very lengthy conversation to be had because it's a very lengthy franchise, right? It's been around already for over 10 years. They've released over 10 games.
Trailer now and see what's going on with it. So
all right, well, I guess we can't hear it, so I can't get any audio impressions, but I can already tell the lighting and the graphics are pretty top notch.
Yeah, it definitely looks like it's a next gen game already.
Yeah, they're definitely trying to pick it up, and I mean the Dunya engine from Far Cry has always been known to be highly graphical. The facial models have improved for a Ubisoft game. I would still say they still have a bit more work to do to get it up to par with other games, but for a Ubisoft game, I'm already impressed that this is how far they've come.
Is that a crocodile wearing a shirt?
Yeah, that's a.
I like that.
Actually, I think that's an alligator.
That's Miami swag right there.
Miami swag.
Oh shit!
Yo, as a pet.
Kung Fu alligator,
if
dude.
you can have an alligator for a pet, that'd be pretty nice.
Seems like she has a pretty fat backpack.
Yep. Wait, did it just say Puerto Rico in the subtitle? I wasn't paying attention. I mean, oh, look, a backpack. Oh yeah, that's right. So I remember reading somewhere in an article that you can change like your backpack and it gives you like different tool sets.
This is Cuba.
Stuff. No, it's not. I don't think it's Cuba. It's supposed
definitely
to be,
Cuba.
It's supposed to be an island similar to all of those, but it's supposed to be like its own fictional world.
Oh really?
Yeah,
sure?
I don't think it's supposed to be like an actual.
I was reading
location.
already that there were some articles with people complaining that it was commentary on Cuba, and
Yeah,
this is definitely giving me Cuba
because
vibes.
it's supposed to be a commentary on those types of dictators.
Yeah,
that's why Gustavo Fring is the main bad guy. Just found him to be the best actor.
Everyone like that guy's getting typecasted to non-existence, dude. They're just like, we need a villain.
Villain. Ever since he did whatchamacallit?
Watch those puddles not be there.
Whatever. Dude.
Downgrade.
I'm not even gonna complain because it's Ubisoft and they normally do. See, look, it does look like Cuba a lot, right? Like that's the type of aesthetic and architecture design that you'd see. At least if you played Assassin's Creed, you'd see the very similar like architecture.
Can you explore that? Is that legit?
Yeah, dude. Far Cry games.
Yeah,
are huge.
Far Cry's always been like super dense and having like pretty big open worlds and stuff. So that's pretty crazy.
Honestly, I mean, maybe the lighting and the RTX and all that stuff might not hit the way it's we're seeing on the trailer, but like I've always said, as long as it looks close to this, I mean, that's good enough because it's still an upgrade over what we've had.
I mean, I don't think this is the most graphically potent game that's out now, but at the same time, I think you always have to measure like how big a game is versus how graphically dense it is. Because if you try to get a game that looks like, I don't know, what's a very good, like overpowered game graphically now. I know everyone always used to say that one shooter was it, but now I don't know what the new like comparison.
Well, I mean, Modern Warfare is a pretty good graphically.
Yeah, let's just say,
especially on PC with the RTX, like it looks beautiful. But
it looks pretty good, but I don't think it's the best game graphically. I mean, look, however, with how big the world is probably gonna end up being, I think that's pretty phenomenal.
Like looking at the game, like I could see that. Like I've said, there's a lot of graphical like fidelity. Like you can see a lot of details that are made up and things that you normally wouldn't see that well on a PS3 or PS4, right? Like compared to the older Far Cry's. But what I can already tell is that like there are some rough edges around some of the objects and textures. Yeah,
like
and there's popping. So
stuff.
like that makes me feel good because this is more representative of what a final product would look like.
Yeah, it's not a bunch of BS.
Exactly. And then like they're showing a lot
of ragdoll.
Yeah, that's supposed to be a CD that when you shoot it, it's like a boombox that shoots that kill people, and it's supposed to be like the Macarena.
Oh, cool.
So it literally sounds. I don't know. It's just kind of
here.
funny.
This is good. Still there. You get a jetpack now?
No, that shoots rockets.
Hell? Yo, this isn't even Far Cry anymore, dude.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. Yeah,
I was gonna say that honestly, I wasn't that excited for it, but just with the amount of freedom that it gives and like the cool looking characters, I think that I'm actually in.
Yeah, this is the kind of stuff where it's like it's the fun part of GTA when you're outside the campaign and you're just in the big open world and you're just having fun, dumb, just trying to see how you can customize things. I think this Far Cry is gonna push that to an extra limit, and it seems to me like the main character is a female, first time in a Far Cry series game from what I know of. But
Dachshund! Look, it's a little. He needs to use a wheelchair. I guess he's paraplegic.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. Far Cry.
Oh no! Why'd you close it? The next video was right next to it. Was like in the next. All right, whatever. Oh no! Let me.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, we put the audio on it because we didn't want to we wanted to avoid any copyrights and stuff. You know how that's been going lately, where unfortunately people we're not like those big YouTubes that get the license to put these things out there. So for the most part, we're just gonna be commenting on it. If you want to see it for yourself alongside us, I mean, you feel free to pull it up on your own, like for your laptop or tablet or whatever you're watching on. But unfortunately, we're gonna have to be no volume for now until we figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so just my impressions of that. It looks pretty much like pretty similar to other Far Cry games. But this world, I think it shares the potential for being maybe a bigger one. Because I mean, I don't remember like the Far Cry 3 maps or anything. That was the last one I played. I don't remember the Far Cry 3 map like off the top of my head. But I'm gonna stand to reason. Like it probably stands to reason that this is gonna be a bigger world. And I know that one of the things that Far Cry has done like best for its series has been just really customizing the amount of ways you can interact with the world and enemies and stealth and like with buffs and debuffs, kind of like an RPG and all that. Different ways you could hunt, different vehicles you could use, different weapons you could use. And it looks like they're just pushing that even further here with like jetpack rockets.
Right, it's what I was saying. Right, it's like it looks like what they're gonna do is they're gonna do the GTA thing, but the part after the campaign where you just have fun going. That's actually your I forget what it's called, the
bearded dragon. Yeah, I'll do something after somewhere,
but anyways, what I was saying is essentially it feels like what they're going for is that part of GTA where you just go nuts, right?
Yeah,
you just come in, you can attack an outpost with like just a pistol, a silencer, and your knife, or you can come in on like a vehicle and explode everything around you. And I think that's what I've always liked about Far Cry. I mean, Far Cry's Ubisoft games are great. I'll say right now, I've never thought any of them to be like game of the years, at least not after Assassin's Creed 2. I thought that once they started going into yearly cadence and start reusing assets and really just trying to remake the same concept over and over again, that they kind of just they have a good pattern for the most part, but
they haven't really innovated as much anymore.
Exactly, they haven't innovated, and it just feels like I'm getting the same thing, kind of like how I was feeling about Call of Duty before Modern Warfare 2019, right? Where it just felt like I'm getting the same game over and over again. I'm not really going anywhere with it. But this does look pretty fun. It's just dumb fun. It's another Far Cry game. I expect to be able to climb, hunt, do stealth, customize my way through the map, use vehicles, meet crazy kooky characters. Like, I mean, I played, the last one I played was Far Cry Primal, and I remember like specifically with that one, they went all in on the prehistoric like caveman to the point of making the characters speak in like caveman language. Yeah. And like they went so far as to bring like kooky characters that would like make you scalp like enemies and then bring back like their heads so like they could build blood or stuff to send you to like some weird like voodoo magic thing or whatever, that whatever caveman ritual thing that they did.
Yeah, the Far Cry like side stuff always seems to go even more interesting than like the basic premise, because I think most Far Cry games, it tends to be like you versus nature and then also versus a villain like in that nature and stuff. So yeah. it tends to follow that same pattern. But then they always tend to shine the most when they do their side projects like Blood Dragon and what was it called, Primal or whatever? Far Cry Primal. Yeah, Primal.
And that's actually something you brought interesting. Basically, that's what I feel about Far Cry as well. It's man versus nature, like the TV show, but like in a game.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what I feel like. Another thing I like I said, there's a female character, but
well, that's like a theme. That's like a theme in classic literature too, or not classic. I think I know that classic is stuff like good versus evil and stuff like that, and then like I think the second one starts being like I forget what the second tier is called, but it's like man versus self and all that. I think that's modern. Yeah, that's modern. I think that's modern literature.
I mean, maybe. But I'd have to look that up.
Is either classic literature or modern literature, one of those two.
Yeah, but what I was trying to say is essentially it's just like the TV show, like the one that's like survival. What is it, the one where or Naked and Afraid or something, like all those type of shows where they just throw you into the wilderness and just go nuts.
I just want to say, because it's not like that came from that show. That's also something that's just something that we've had in literature now for like hundreds of years, and then there's different takes on it. I'm just
saying, like, something that you can today, like you can go on TV and find, like, that would be the representation that I'm going. Aside from the fact they're also trying to be like GTA, open, free, and just do whatever you want.
Yeah.
So that's definitely it. For the story, I mean, I didn't get to hear much of what was being said, but it looks like it's just gonna be, get your biggest gun and just blow everybody's brains out, and obviously, trying to fight the big bad guy like they do in every Far Cry. I'm sure that Gustavo Fring, I keep calling Gustavo Fring. Just
I noticed that the guns had like Liberty scribbled on it in Spanish. So he's probably a dictator of some sort, or he's enslaving the island somehow.
It's the same thing,
like
but that's what I'm trying to say. It's the same thing as Devil May Cry 3 had Far Cry 3 had Haz, and he kind of Vaz, sorry, and he was working with the other dude, the guy that was like more like the businessman that was like trying to. I haven't played the game in like 10 years, so it's like I forgot. But they were basically like closing off the island, trying to control it for their own monetary reasons, right?
Yeah.
Then you have Far Cry 4, where you had the big dude in I think Kirat was the name of the place, or the mountainous area. You had another guy that was pretty similar. He basically enslaved like all the people living in the Himalayan mountains. I think that's what it is.
So basically, it's the same thing where you're fighting nature, and at the same time you're fighting like some sort of an oppressor to liberate the people of that area.
It's always an oppressor that you're fighting, right? And even in Far Cry Primal, there was like your end crew caveman like group that they believed in like the sun god or something, and then what they did was just oppress every other tribe or whatever. Specifically yours was almost extinct before you took up arms against them.
Yeah, so essentially they're just retreading that same ground, but just enhancing the gameplay elements of it. Yeah, I'm assuming is what they're going for the best.
Exactly.
I mean, to be honest, the two things that really like drew me into the game right there was, number one, I love the crocodile, the alligator that had I don't know if that was like a shirt or guayabera or whatever. Love that for whatever reason. I dig it. And I like the fact that
it's supposed to be like a pet.
You know
how
the fact that
you
he
have
fought
like
and
pets,
stuff too. It was pretty nice, and I like the dachshund with the wheelchair, so to speak, or whatever. That was fire too. But honestly, I mean, it's a game I would pick up. It looks good. I mean, Far Cry in general is like a safe bet. I haven't like cared that much to play Far Cry 4 because at the time that I tried to get it, I was like working multiple jobs and stuff, and I was just too busy to actually do it. But I think if you ever just want something that's like a lengthy adventure with good exploration, your typical attack camps and climb and get viewpoints and all that, I think it's a fine game to get.
Yeah, it's a game to get lost in. Just do like some fun activities, challenge yourself a little bit here and there. With certain types of like how you're saying, there's like buffs and debuffs, and you can kind of like, if you feel like you can strategize around the thing, and then of course you have the open theme of like you fighting the oppressors and all that. So that's always I guess fun. For those
liberating people.
Yeah, I mean,
good entertainment.
I guess. But the point is, it's just dumb fun, right? I don't think this game is gonna turn around and all of a sudden be like, oh, this is the next big game of the year, right? This is the next Zelda. It's not. It's just Far Cry. I mean, it's dumb fun. Just enjoy it how you would any other.
Well, didn't Far Cry 3 get nominated for some awards and stuff?
3, but everything after that is just
maybe
that's what I'm trying to say.
Well, let's see. Maybe I'll give this one a chance. I think what Far Cry should rely on is making a steady, like a good story, because even though like the protagonist for Far Cry 3 was kind of flimsy, like they managed to make it pretty captivating with some of the villains, because some of the villains that they got were really cool. Like Voss obviously was renowned to be like the best video game villain for like a while. And then Hoyt was kind of interesting in and of himself. And then what was the other guy? Buck, like the perverted Australian guy who was like a history buff. You remember him?
No, I don't remember.
The guy who wanted the knife and he threatened to do some bad things to your man friend Keith. You don't remember that?
I probably spent too much time in the side stuff.
What I'm just saying is that, number one, they got man, I forgot the actor's name. They got the guy who played Gustavo Fring from Breaking Bad. He's also doing like the main, or he was doing the main bad guy. He is doing the main bad guy in The Mandalorian, and that guy's he's a top-notch actor. So already you could tell that they're really they're investing in their villains, because I guess they're trying to revive that same hype that they had for when they hit the nail on the head with Vaz. And so I think they're taking investments into their storyline, to the exploration, and to like
if I'm being honest, I don't mean to cut you off, but like I'm just giving my opinion here. Aside from the side stuff and all the fun I've ever had in Far Cry, to me the Far Cry story is like me going on the Donkey Kong rides in like Universal. I mean, not the Donkey Kong, the King Kong ride in Universal, where I feel like I'm on like a track and it's just like the scene's playing around me and it like tries to interact with me, but then ultimately it's just, that's how I feel. Like I don't feel the complete tension. I feel the impression that it makes when it comes to my face and jumps out, which is what Voz did so great, that it captured your attention. But to me, it's just like a Universal ride, right? At the end of it, once you get to the end of it, you finish the ride and you're done, right?
That's just most video games that are multiplayer.
Right, but it's like, what I'm saying is it doesn't leave that lasting impression where it becomes bigger than itself.
You're on drugs.
I mean, Voz is great, but the other characters haven't.
No. Relax. Far Cry 3 had a lot of things that were memorable. The start of the game was pretty memorable in my opinion. The fact that you had to burn...
Far Cry has not.
Oh, well, I mean, so a lot of people like say that their preferences lie in like Far Cry 1 or Far Cry 2 or whatever, because Far Cry 1 was supposedly like the most realistic, like nature, first-person shooter or whatever, where you hunted down people and all that. But Far Cry 3, I mean, it definitely made its impressions. It had good characters, just not maybe the protagonists, because, you know, first-person protagonists, they're kind of always hit or miss, unless you have moments where you show them in cutscenes, like kind of like how Halo did with Master Chief and stuff. A lot of the times, first person protagonists tend to be a little bit flat, but they had a lot of great characters, mostly in the shape of the villains, and a couple other people on the island, like Dennis, that one guy who was like your guide to teach you how to learn the tattoo and all that. And Citra and all those people. I thought those were great. It's just the protagonist and his friends like that came from America were just kind of like, you guys are a little bit of a miss here compared to the rest of your cast.
Yeah, it's like you're supposed to care about them. We were just like, nah, dude, let me just build my tatao.
Yeah, I remember it was super cool when you see that you get to hunt and the versatility and the diversity of the combats where the strength lies in Far Cry.
And I think
now, you played Far Cry 4 yourself. So what do you what do you think it was missing compared to Far Cry 3? Because I tried it and I was like, this is kind of boring compared to Far Cry 3.
But that's what I'm trying to say, right? Like Far Cry 3 became an impression because at the time there was not really any experience like it that jumped out and hit you. But think of it like, it's like the best ride at Universal, and all the other Far Cries are like the slightly less good rides, right? Like when I look at Far Cry 3, that's like my King Kong ride, and then every other ride after that is just like the ones I don't care about, which are just carbon copies of that one that they put the most money in, right? I mean, I don't know if I'm right on that, whether King Kong was the one they most invested in, maybe it's the Harry Potter one, but the point is, it's like I feel like that, where it's like you go on this ride, you enjoy it, and then that one's the only one you remember, but then the rest of them you don't really remember half of it because it doesn't jump out at you as much because it's already just a copy of it.
Okay,
it's already a copy of it, so it's like I already experienced this in Far Cry 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever. You know, you keep going. It's like I already experienced this the first time.
But
I'm not getting the same feeling.
I don't know.
Anymore.
I feel like if it was the same formula, but they just managed to do it as well, it would still work. I feel like it's just because maybe they haven't been able to like they haven't been able to replicate the Far Cry 3 formula as well as they did for that one game.
I mean, look. In Far Cry 4, like I played it to its completion. I also got the platinum on it. Essentially, it's the same as Far Cry 3. Obviously, you're in the mountains rather than in an island area. The biggest difference is, one, they expanded a little bit more the vehicles. I think unlike Far Cry 3, you can actually use like a mini helicopter in Far Cry 4. The co-op was a bit more embedded, so like you can play more of the side stuff with your friends rather than just a side campaign. It was like you can go in the open world. It was a lot more dense with collectibles and side activities, and there was a lot more like cave systems and underground and like searching for stuff. But in adding more, I felt more like it was just okay. It's just the same thing as Far Cry 3, but now you just doubled the amount of things you can do by copying the same thing and just duplicating it in a different way.
It wasn't something that was unique enough to merit all the extra content.
Like I'll say like it was enjoyable. At the very least, like I enjoyed going through it at least once, and I'm thinking about going back and replaying the game again because I liked it. I genuinely liked it. And maybe I'll make a walkthrough of it too. But it just feels like it falls flat because it's just the same thing as what we had the first time.
Gotcha.
You see what I'm saying? So it's like, and it's the same thing. In the same way as Vaz was an interesting main villain, and you know, I enjoyed the way that the character interacted with me. The main bad guy of Far Cry 4, same thing, except the difference was that he really was the main bad guy, and he was the final bad guy. Right. Unlike in Far Cry 3, where, you know, Vaz kind of carried everything, but then kind of left like halfway through the game. You know, they kind of fixed that. But then, you know, I haven't played Far Cry 5, but Primal's the same thing to me. So
okay, all right, cool. What's the next game you want to look at?
So Dying Light. Let's go ahead and pull up Dying Light now. Yeah, the Dying Light 2 Stay Human. So Dying Light is, well, for starters, I played the first. I thought it was very great. It's a very fun co-op game. It's very much like the other zombie game. I forget what it's called. Dead Island. There you go. And it has a lot of that Borderlands-y type of loot system, but with crafting, so you can build like your own weapons and add like electricity to weapons or repair them and all that stuff, which is kind of cool. But for the most part, it's a zombie survival game. And the light in its own light is the fact that it also combined that Mirror's Edge like parkour system, not at the same level or not at the same with the same like focus, but it has enough to where you feel like you're playing a Mirror's Edge game, but with zombies, right? And then so you have the ability to jump off of zombies, throw them around, as you saw the freaking drop kick, you know, like just drop kick on them. You also have the wall running, the wall scaling, the verticality of jumping in through buildings and above buildings, you know, and scaling up and down the buildings as best you can. You also have the same level, maybe even I think the weapons were a bit crazier in Dying Light than Dead Island, but then again, I never played Riptide, so I don't know if Riptide kind of. There you go, you can see right there.
I didn't play Dying Light the first one, so just from what I'm seeing here, it gives me very strong vibes that remind me of what was that one parkour game?
Mirror's Edge.
Yeah, Mirror's Edge. It's like a first person shooter, Mirror's Edge, with zombies.
Zombie survival.
Like, zombie survival. Yeah, that's basically the proper mix of it. Like, how much of this game depends on parkour? Is it like very heavily reliant, like Assassin's Creed style?
Well, I mean, what do you mean by heavily reliant?
Like is parkour like a big portion of the game?
It's
majority?
Important to the game, yeah, because I mean, you have the decision to run head on against a zombie, or you can jump on his face, kick him down, and then, you know, fly over the group, you know. Maybe jump up to the window above them, you know, run through the window, and then, you know, jump, take I don't know, jump on a box and then go to the roof or something. Like, there's a lot of verticality that you can do, and depending on how you use the parkour, you can interact a lot with like the environment. One thing I didn't like about the demo, though, and not that I hate the game for it, I just didn't like that they didn't do it, is the ability that you had in Dying Light 1 where you can literally jump, kick, like, you know, like how you see in the movies when they try to do a funny thing that a bad guy's coming up, and then what they do is they just jump, kick the dude's face, and then jump higher.
Yeah.
Like, you have that ability here in the game. And then there is a little bit of leap of faith stuff when you like throw yourself off into like trash cans and dumpsters and stuff with a lot of trash, so you can kind of like soften your fall and all that stuff. There's all that kind of stuff here, just like in Assassin's Creed and Mirror's Edge.
I don't know why that guy hit so delayed, because when the zombie turned around, I'm pretty sure he saw him. Like, he was already full blown looking his way by the time he managed to put his head back around the corner. So I was like, I don't know, guy. I think he saw you.
That was a whatchamacallit? That was a Han Solo edit.
Oh, a Han Solo edit.
They broke his head just into it.
So it looks like you have NPCs helping you, at least in the campaign.
Oh yeah, no, of course. Same thing in the first game, just not as much. It was more like you against everybody by yourself, but now it's like this is supposed to be after all the stuff happened in the first game, so people are already starting to become a bit more accustomed to surviving around the zombies. And in that case, what I'm seeing is that now you have more NPCs on the ground and stuff, and like more human enemies, because they're now starting to learn how to survive in the environment. They're not getting killed off, that sort of stuff.
Oh, okay, I see. So there's basically a bunch of factions and stuff, kind of like Walking Dead is what it's reminding me of.
Yeah, exactly.
Factions are getting formed. Now you probably have to take more care of humans compared to actual zombies, since everyone already kind of figured zombies out.
And you're starting to get to that part where you start seeing the Mad Max type of groups where they just start like...
You have a base. I think you have a base that you build up as well, right? That's what they were saying, kind of like the Division.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. I mean, I'm assuming that's what they have in this upcoming game. Now here, again, you can see here, like in comparison to Far Cry 6, I'm already liking the facial details more and the facial modeling. Like there's these facial models are starting to look a bit more like what I would expect. from a game rather than like so outlined. Like I don't know, Far Cry 6 had everything outlined.
I mean, I know that Far Cry always looks like it has like pretty heavy shadows on things.
Yeah,
but
well, that's because of the outlining, right?
I don't know if like the models are necessarily the best here either. They look like old Call of Duty ones to me.
Well, I'm not saying they're the best. I'm just saying I'm starting to prefer these over Far Cry.
Gotcha.
The one that we saw in the Far Cry series. Obviously, to me, though, my favorite one is the Horizon one, but that's because I'm a Sony fan and I'm a freaking biased on that opinion. But I mean,
well, Horizon's graphics looked pretty great, but that's, I mean, we're gonna talk about that later. But I think that's just straight up. I don't think that's true. I think that's a lie. I don't think that's gonna look like that. I know that every company has a history of getting on E3 and this is gonna be our game. It's so fantastic, and then they show you the most beautiful thing ever. But then it's all just a bunch of scripted like side pieces that don't exist. And then when you get what you get is something that's similar, but like not looking anywhere near what they get.
We'll save that conversation for later. Because obviously I don't feel the same, but then again I also don't pay much attention to detail when it comes to the trailers. Because I learned a lot that we'll talk about that later. But I basically learned a long time ago not to believe in all this BS. Like it's just let me just wait for the final product and just get impressed. So anyways, now what you're seeing here, the reason why all of a sudden they're running pretty frantically and stuff is because when it turns to night, these mutated zombies start coming out, and I think now they put even some zombies that fly. I don't know if they were in the DLC for the first game, but essentially now there's zombies that like at night they just go 10 times more hardcore, and they hit harder, they run faster, they jump higher. So like you have to run, and then using the UV light you can kind of distract them, but the idea is to use stealth, run as fast as you can, try and get out of there, and that's where the parkour Mirror's Edge thing comes into full blast.
So basically, it's like daytime you have to worry mostly about humans, and then at night it's the zombies that get to be a pretty big problem.
Yes.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. I think it's a pretty good concept.
And now, but the dynamic here in this game, which is what makes it so interesting, is that now there are humans that are learning how to use the UV lights and get around the zombies at night. So you're gonna have to start dealing with those type of people too, that want to chase you down while they're surviving zombies. Right?
It looks like a lot of versatility, pretty much.
Exactly. And there's a lot of verticality is what I want to say instead, because it's like you can go up to as high of a building and then all of a sudden jump down, and you can see there like the dude's like using like all forms of like parkour to get through objects and stuff.
Basically, you're making full use of all 3 dimensions.
Exactly.
And it looks like you're doing
in first person, which is very hard to do. Like get the camera down so it at least looks pleasing to the player, or at least like it doesn't make you feel sick or distracted from the game, right?
Yeah.
Here we're seeing some more of the gameplay. Again, it's very hard to get like melee combat down in first person.
He starts
but you can
fighting some pretty big chunky zombies.
Yeah, exactly. But you can see here, like you see how the combat's working in first person. Like it's very hard to get that down.
I can imagine
the animations, like getting it to work with like the camera work. This is probably some of the best like melee action I've ever seen in a first person game, if I'm being honest.
I agree with you, dude. It honestly looks pretty fantastic. It looks like you have tons of different ways to like decide to fight too. You can mix up like melee weapons with like guns.
That's something that's interesting about this game too, right? Because usually when you play all these type of games, especially like Far Cry, right, they just give you a giant ammo pack and it's just you just spray and pray the entire time, right? What I like about this game is that it pushes that more tactical part of Far Cry to the front.
Right.
So like instead of you having like 100 bullets, you might only have like 10 bullets, but you might have like 6 enemies and they're all surrounding you, and then you have to kind of pick and choose how you want to throw your Molotov. When do you want to jump around the objects beside you to take cover, that sort of stuff. Like you have to take control of all these things while you're doing it.
Pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, I'm actually excited to replay the first game now when the compilation pack comes out. Hopefully they brought it up to 60 FPS on PS5 with all the DLC and stuff, so that'll be pretty exciting as well. But yeah, that's Dying Light.
That's pretty good, man.
Also, how'd you end up feeling about it?
I mean, just with what I saw, I don't know. It looks like a game that I would definitely be interested in playing. I just hope it doesn't get overly long. Like I feel like the gameplay is going to have enough uniqueness and enough like versatility for me to try to explore different play styles and stuff where it could keep me hooked for a good while. But I feel like in that game, without like a strong narrative, I'll get tired of it very easily. Like once you get the parkour, the running, and the combat down, it's not going to offer a whole lot unless like the narrative manages to grasp you as well. And I get, or for me to really have a better opinion, I'd have to play the first one to see how they did that. But I guess in this day and age, with how hard things are, and you know how people tend to just gravitate to like the same 5-10 games, you know, with most people playing Valorant and Call of Duty and all that, the fact that it did well enough to merit a sequel probably is a green flag to me.
Yeah, I mean, well, there's another conversation I want to have about this game too, because there's a lot of crap going on in the background. But specifically with the first game, now I can recall my experience. The problem is that I decided to play it with friends, and I was playing it in co-op, and we all had different ideas as to what we wanted to do with the game. I wanted to explore all the side content and see like every corner of the game to as much as I could, you know, in terms of my abilities. One guy only wanted to seek the highest end treasures, you know, get the most OP weapons and try and have fun with like, you know, mixing and matching with like the zombies and stuff. And one guy just wanted to get through the story as fast as possible. So because we were torn, obviously, you know, we would have a lot of like discussions as to what should be done first, this and that or whatever. And then of course we all fell apart. We all played the game in our own pace. I didn't finish it in the end. I made it to the part where you make it to like the bad guy humans that started enslaving like some of the survivors, and that was pretty much like the end of my experience.
But does that mean that you didn't enjoy it because you stopped playing it? You didn't finish?
Well, it's kind of hard to put. Like, I did enjoy my time with it. I did enjoy the fact that, you know, I wasn't being able to explore it at my pace because of the people I was playing with, and I also didn't enjoy the fact that I didn't understand some of the tasks that I was going for, especially because, you know, I'm a big platinum hunter. I didn't do enough research, or maybe because the game was new, there wasn't enough information at the time to understand what direction I should take. And then there was something I was trying to do in the game where I feel like I just got disconnected from it because, I don't know, I got disconnected. But that's why I'm saying, like, now I'm excited that they're making a repackaging with all the DLC and stuff again, so that I can check that out, because I also don't own the DLC, so it'd be great.
Okay, interesting.
Right. One thing to say, I guess, in the background though, which is concerning, is that the developers are have been known to be very
controversial,
abusive towards their employees. Like there's a lot of abuse work at the you know, within the offices, and there's some rumblings around like people who have inside information on that. Obviously, it's not known information, like how far the extent is, but they're saying like, you know, we really don't feel like supporting this game at the moment because management there is a little bit off. One of the big problems at the series, I mean, one big problem at the studio is the fact that the owners of the company, or in other words, like the managers, leaders, like when the employees go to HR, the HR is the manager's wife. So like they really don't have any privacy.
Yeah, it sounds kind of like a conflict of interest, really.
Yeah.
Huh.
Honestly, it's a family-owned business, so it's going to be family-oriented, and they're going to work obviously at their own pace. This is not corporate. There's no like base ruling that they can just put, and it's like everybody just follows that. It's going to be following whatever the family wants. And I can't speak to any of like the things going on in there, but there has been abuse reported that people can search up online, where people are saying like they're working extended hours, getting cussed out, verbally abused while at work, being lauded with rewards so that others feel like they're making less than, you know, to convince them to do overtime, that sort of stuff. There's a lot of funky business there. I mean, I'm gonna be honest, I'm probably not gonna get the game for day one anyways. I'll probably just end up getting it off of GameStop pre-owned. But the point is, yeah, there's some funny business in
that's going into the development of it. Well, I don't know. I know that right now my ability to purchase games is greatly diminished. So I'm probably only going to go with stuff that's either a really good deal for me, like games I've had interest for in a while and I want to try out, or something that's been more proven. And I've already been burned enough trying to get things day one where I'm kind of done. I tried doing that all of 2020 and it was nothing but poor decisions. I mean, I guess the only one that you could probably say was good was The Last of Us Part 2. But, you know, I got Cyberpunk. Obviously, that was a disaster. I got Marvel's Avengers. That was obviously a disaster. I just stopped.
Yeah, your entire experience gaming has been nothing but crap. But then again, you've also only picked games from studios.
I wouldn't say my entire experience in gaming.
Past 2 years.
Yeah, the past couple years have been kind of rough, but I discovered Battlefront 2, which is a positive thing. Even though I came in
after it became
after it became good.
After it became good, after it survived its crap. Yeah, I mean, honestly, look, my final opinion between these two, because both these games are pretty unique in the sense that they're both like equal or like similar. it's if I don't want to think about too much as to what I'm doing in the game, I would pick Far Cry. But if I want to like put my mind to it and maybe try and micromanage a bit more of like the resources around me, such as like the parkour and like the weapons I use and all that stuff, I would probably pick Dying Light. And of course, if I want zombies, like if you just want plain old good fun like shooting, it's just Far Cry. If you want something a bit more like nuanced like parkour and survival and all that, I would pick Dying Light. That's my final opinion.
Yeah, I think that's a valid take, to be honest. What was the next game you want to see?
Well, now let's put up the two smaller ones where they barely showed anything. We can pull up the Sonic, Sonic Colors, Ultimate. Pull up that trailer, and we'll put it side by side with Sonic Rangers, quote unquote. That's the rumored for it. So Sonic Colors, so people know, it was actually one of the only games for Sonic, where it was only on the Nintendo side. I don't know why they didn't bring it over to console, but I guess because they didn't want to remake the game for PS3 or something. But the point is, it's they're remaking the game now, and I think they upped the frame rate and all that. And of course added more detail, like more better color accuracy and all that stuff, like with all the stuff that they're making. I love Sonic. It holds a strong place in my heart, even though they haven't made the best games or like any of the games have been like that good. But it definitely does have a strong place in my heart, and now watching Colors being remade now for like PS4 and all that, or at least like updated and graphically and all that, I'm really loving the experience, right? And especially because
what game does this originally come out for?
The Wii.
The Wii? Okay,
yeah.
Cool.
So, and what makes this one interesting is that this is one of the Sonic games where like they added in the wisps. So like the wisps are like these creatures, like these aliens that like whenever you grab them, you absorb their power and you get a unique ability.
Oh, okay, interesting. So basically, Sonic has a bunch of different playstyles depending on which one of these little aliens he gets a hold of. Then
I wouldn't say different playstyles. I would say like you get different abilities, right?
Well, he's starting to drill through the ground with one of them. It looks like he's able to like follow rings.
These are all like limited time abilities, right?
Mm.
So like it'll be like an ability you get.
So it affects
use.
how you interact the map, pretty much.
Exactly. So like you might have a moment where you might want to use like the rocket boosted the yellow one, or I think the yellow one's actually the drill, but there's one that turns you into a rocket and it'll shoot you up straight. You might want to use that to break through like a roofing. But you might want to use a drill to go underground. There's one that like bounces you around the corners of the map, so that kind of makes it interesting. Look, that one, that right there, the one that says no, the next that one, that would be the next one, and then there's gonna be the other announcement. So yeah, Colors is pretty interesting, and I'm glad that they're bringing it back because of course.
How much?
Oh, I think it's $40. Yeah,
I think that's pretty good. If they're going as far back as the Wii, that gives. I mean that. Colors probably performed pretty well for them, so that's probably where they're going to bring it back. But I was sad that it's probably just a Sega thing because I thought there was a lot of potential for Nintendo if they decided to bring back.
Oh, look, we got a new person on YouTube. I got to announce them after. But anyways, this is Sonic. It's going to be called Sonic Rangers. That's like the big rumor. Like it's somebody that did like the whole Metal Gear Solid 5 the Phantom Pain where they filled in the words out of the outlines. That's what people are getting off of this. They're getting Sonic Rangers out of that somehow.
I don't understand.
Like the name of the game that they teased it off of those last couple of seconds. They're calling it Sonic Rangers.
What is a Sonic Rangers?
No, it's just the name of the game. I don't know what it means. Maybe it could be that you're part of a team or whatever. But something about that game tells me that you're gonna have I wanted to have the boost, right? But it's gonna be Sonic Ranger is gonna be something where you have like digital powers or something that allows you to like traverse through like digital techniques or something like that. I don't know what that's gonna mean. But whatever it means, it'll just end up being like some type of new power that Sonic gets. And I mean, digital is actually something that could be interesting because maybe it could be something where he like traverses like the multiverse or something like that. And I think that would be kind of interesting. This is just speculation. I'm not sure this is what Sonic Rangers or the next Sonic game is going to be. But essentially what it is that it's just going to be this game where you have this ability. And if it is digital powers, and if it's anything like what I remember from digital powers in Infamous Second Son, it's going to allow you to traverse like the environment in certain ways with digital ability. That would be kind of interesting, and I think it's personally great. I do find it funny though that they did the reveal, saying like, I mean, sure, this is what we've been waiting for, right? That they just say, oh, we're creating something new or some crap. But I honestly I don't know what this is.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's pretty good.
Why did they show it off? Like, we don't know what it is.
Sega, I mean, Sega's always been someone that's pretty interesting, and especially with Sonic. I mean, you know, Sonic is a franchise that holds, you know, it holds a space that's near and dear in a lot of people's hearts, including myself. You know, I came up playing the original Sonic games on Sega Genesis, and of course, I got to try the first legendary 3D Sonic game through Sonic Adventure, and I know that Sonic Adventure 2 is like pretty popular and famous and stuff like that. So, you know, they just had a lot of hits and misses with the franchise. So it's always exciting and a big gamble whenever Sega decides that they're gonna announce something new for Sonic. So let's see what happens here. You know, they had Sonic 06, which was, you know, kind of a miss. They had, you know, they had Sonic Adventure 2, which was big, and it's always interesting to see what they're gonna come up with the Sonic franchise. So I'm excited that they're remaking one of their better ones, for one, and then two, I'm also looking forward to seeing what they have that's new as well. And I hope that it ends up being another legendarily good Sonic game. You know, that's all I have to say about that. I mean, I've already expressed to you that one of my pet peeves when it comes to some video game trailers, and of course, I guess it really depends on how much material they have on hand, is when they just give you like a title, because then I'm just like, I can't work. What am I supposed to work with that? You know, but I guess it's just a video format announcement of them saying like, oh yeah, we have this in the works, so expect this coming out sometime soon. And, you know, I can't give a whole lot of opinion just based off of what I saw there, but like I said, it's a 50-50 with them, so I'm gonna hope that it's a good one. We'll see. We'll end up covering it more when there's more material to talk about for that specific one.
Yeah, I was just a little disappointed. I was waiting for something more as a Sonic fan, and they just, I mean, sure, I'm happy about Colors Ultimate being released, but that just made me a little sad.
Yeah,
I didn't like that. Next up is Dragon Quest. If you want to bring up Dragon Quest 3 HD remake first, we'll look at the Dragon Quest itself. So Dragon Quest is a series that's it's like Square Enix's second franchise aside from Final Fantasy. It never really got much into the limelight outside of Japan. They never really pushed it in the same way that Final Fantasy did. So what happened with Dragon Quest is that as soon as 11 came out, it became such a surprise hit, not only in the US but in Japan, that they felt that they could continue to bring the Dragon Quest over to the US, and seeing if maybe now with like the new following, they could build more hype and interest into the franchise. Now, personally, I am actually happy for this, because I actually do find Dragon Quest to be interesting. I just haven't found my moment, my time to jump in and be a part of it. But I am excited to start 11 when I get the chance. And of course, I am now excited about the Dragon Quest franchise, and I would like to see more of it come this way. So this here's the trailer for Dragon Quest 12. As you can see, same thing as the Sonic Rangers or Sonic 2022. What did they do?
Not a big fan. Not a big fan. That's just a fiery 12. And I guess, like I said, it really depends on how much material they already have. But just a title card with, like, you know, that's it.
I mean, at least I'm happy to know there's something in the works, right?
Right. Like, I guess that's the purpose of what these things are. But I don't have enough material to discuss anything about that here. Yeah, I guess if you're just a big fan of JRPGs, you know, exactly. Dragon Quest tends to be one of the biggest ones out there. So
I actually don't know much about Dragon Quest yet, so I don't know what would be happening. I don't even know if like the games are. Oh, look at the other one, the HD remake there. Yeah, I don't know much about it to be like, oh, I understand what this means in the Dragon Quest thing. Bro, you're just mad because life, right? Yes, mad.
No,
anyway,
mad because bad, and that's what it is, and not me being bad at the game.
Anyways.
Damn, this is the original Dragon Quest 3?
Yeah, so this is Dragon Quest 3.
That looks like a NES game.
It is a NES game. That was on
No, this is like SNES.
Whatever. It was way back in the day. So now what they're doing is they're doing an HD remake in the form of Octopath Traveler. And that remake, to me, that seems like a pretty solid remake for a Switch game. I'm actually excited to play some of that on my Switch whenever I get it.
They modernized like the look of it by quite a bit, but it still has that retro NES feeling to it as well.
Right. Honestly, I mean, that's what I like about it, right? Octopath Traveler is a pretty interesting game. I really enjoyed the way that that's the only thing I don't like about the series. I don't like the fact that it goes into like first person to show the abilities. Maybe it's something that's unique to them. But that's the only thing I don't really like about it so far from what I've seen. Especially because I'm a big fan of Final Fantasy and they've always, done it from the side. But I mean, whatever. It's a unique edge to them, and I like the fact that I also like the fact that like the castle got lit up at night, showing like the candles turning on to showcase that there's people living in it. That's something that's never been done in these type of games before, except for like Octopath Traveler and I think Bravely Default. So I was very excited about that. That's kind of cool because it means that even within the fact that there's less graphical quality, I mean, they're still making an effort to show off, unique and artistic things.
I think with obviously engine and stuff and it's designed completely different. So that probably means that there's going to be a pretty big difference with how the gameplay is and everything. So for people who are fond of Dragon Quest 3, I'm pretty excited for them because that's going to mean that they're going to get to see a more modern or a more like just a revitalized vision of what possibly one of their favorite games was. I know that there's tons of titles that I wish would get the same treatment. Probably something like Chrono Trigger, which is probably one of the best, retro JRPGs of all times and stuff. It would probably be amazing if Square Enix decided to ever give it the same treatment and stuff. So I'm very happy for Dragon Quest fans with that. I know that Final Fantasy VII is getting a similar treatment as well, right? Like, obviously they have the remakes, which is like a whole different thing that just turns it basically into a modern action JRPG. But then on top of that, it's also getting, what's that thing called? It's Final Fantasy VII Integrate, isn't it?
No, Integrate is the like the new package for PS5. I think you're talking about I forget what it's called, but it's basically like the whole saga, like the entirety.
Plus the stuff from the movies and the other games and all the spin-offs. But made in like a more modern style, which is pretty great. I'm happy for Final Fantasy VII fans because not only do they get the classic game looking a lot better and probably with new music and all that,
but now you get the full story.
Yeah, the full story from all the spin-offs as well, which is just phenomenal.
The only thing that kind of made me a little sad on it is that it's only mobile. Kind of wish it came to Nintendo Switch because it would be another thing I could look forward to when the Switch Pro comes out, which by the way is going to be a Switch Pro supposedly revealed soon. But it would have been something else to look forward to. I don't like playing on my iPhone. I think the screen's too small.
Hey, but you could always, we're in. The great thing about that is that we're in 2021, dude. Aircast it to your TV and just play it that way.
Can you aircast games?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll have to try that out.
If you want after the stream, I'll show you.
Okay, yeah. If you can aircast games, that's actually pretty interesting. But still, I don't like the control schemes for the phone.
You could probably hook up a controller.
Okay,
maybe.
yeah. If there's controller support in the game, then I'll be excited for it. Maybe I'll end up paying the $20 for it. I don't like paying $20 for an iPhone game. I don't think Apple deserves the $20.
There's good iPhone games and there's bad iPhone games, right? There's probably games that you shouldn't mind paying for. But it's not like this is a game that's gonna, you're gonna make it to the boss and be like, you died 3 times. And all of a sudden, it's gonna be like, you need more heart gem. Pay me $20 for more heart gem.
I'm definitely trying to be more open-minded to small form games. Not that I'm not saying I hate indies because I've always liked indies since like Flower.
You were hating on Phasmophobia though.
I wasn't hating on Phasmophobia. I was hating on the fact that people are making Phasmophobia akin to a game that costs like infinitesimally more in production. Like that's like me saying, hey dude, like
Cyberpunk costs millions to make.
Cyberpunk
costs millions to make and it was still ass.
Enslave people with millions to make. I think that's the best way to put it because that was just a giant mess.
What I'm trying to say is that the budget of a game does not mean good. Look at the new Star Wars, right? Those budgets were massive. Was it a good movie? Not necessarily.
Right. But it's just there's a point when it's like me saying, it's like me holding a candle to Phasmophobia when Ocarina of Time is the competitor. I can't in my right mind saying they're not even in the same ball. It's like the kids league and then putting up against a majors league. It doesn't fit. To me, I can't put them in the same category. Now, if I were to put Phasmophobia next to like Flower Journey and all the other games within its own category, I would easily compete. I'm sorry, dude. Look, I'm gonna just say,
relax.
I'll take your opinion when you play the game. I'll leave it like that. Anyways, moving on to the next thing.
I'll take your opinion when you play anything else that's not a Sony exclusive.
I played it all. My entire PS4 career was not PS4 exclusive.
I don't know.
No? Destiny, Far Cry Primal.
You just said one of your favorite games is Destiny. You have no opinion.
I didn't.
You have
I
no
said
right to an opinion.
all the games
and
I
that
played
goes
on
for you guys who
PS4.
listen to me too. If you guys,
I said
if your
all the
guys' favorite
games
game
I
is
played on.
Destiny,
I said all the games I played on PS4. My entire PS4 career was not PS exclusive.
I know for a fact that Phasmophobia is one of the top games compared to everything
It's a
that
great
you've played
game,
already.
dude. But I'm just not gonna.
I'll take your opinion on it when you play it. How about that?
Okay, fine. I'll play it tomorrow.
All right,
I'm
good.
not gonna put it at the same caliber. I'm sorry. It's just
You're right.
like
you
I
like
said,
Cyberpunk.
it's like grabbing a 12-year-old kid from a kids league and matching him up with like freaking.
That
like,
makes zero sense.
league.
What are you basing that off outside of budget? Because I could give you so many examples of games that had a massive budget, but they're trash.
Programming quality, how many glitches it has.
Who says
graphical
Phasmophobia is
quality.
riddled with glitches or has?
I'm not saying. I'm just saying the quality of it, animation quality, everything. I'm basing it off of the
what does the
entirety
game
of
look
production.
like? What's the color palette look like? You haven't even seen the game, I bet.
I've seen the game. I've seen gameplay.
What's the
of it.
setting?
The setting, it's usually in an enclosed, like claustrophobic area
it's not.
because there's the
You can
forest
go
area.
outside.
There's a forest area, and then there's the house area, and then you're chased by ghosts.
Okay.
And the ghosts they chase you down. So, they put a mechanic where like
I don't
literally
know,
they can hear your
weird.
voice.
You're
and
one
all
of
that.
those kids that like thinks that graphics is everything in a game.
It's not
and
about
budget's
graphics. It's
in a
everything.
game.
I just said one of my favorite games is Flower.
Whatever your opinion is, Phasmophobia
Look,
got nominated for
you
awards
can't-
or whatever last year, so you're just
You
wrong.
can't tell me that I'm a graphics person when I still play and hold PS3 games to such a high caliber, which are, and I'm talking about not even games that came out first party. I'm talking about games that had frame rate issues, like bad production quality and all that. Look at one of my favorite games.
It was
Silent
good for
Hill
its time.
Downpour.
It was good for its time, but when you go back, obviously it's gonna look bad.
Yeah.
You just got spoiled by the modern day stuff. But
even then,
regardless,
Silent Hill Downpour.
I don't know why you have such weird disregard for Phasmophobia when it's
I don't-
better
I
than the
have a
majority
weird
of the
disregard. I don't have
AAA
a
stuff
weird
that
disregard.
Sony
I have a
like,
disregard
has
for
let out for
multiplayer
the
only games. That's different.
There's very few games that you could say probably beats Phasmophobia from what's on PlayStation, like God of War. What's this? The samurai one that everyone like fell in love with last year as
So
well.
all the biggest ones,
Yeah, exactly.
the only ones that came out.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the point.
No, I bet a bunch of people would prefer Phasmophobia over The Last of Us Part 2.
That's a playable.
And Hades came
okay,
close.
but
Hades came close to taking all that stuff away from all the titles that you like.
This is the argument that you're making. You're making the argument. I'm making the argument on quality and production. You're making the argument on personal experience on what people like. If I were to say what I like, I'd put Destiny above everything else because I just like Destiny. Now I don't like Destiny as much as I did before, but when I loved Destiny, it was the height of everything to me. It to me, it's scaled above Last of Us, and it's scaled above Uncharted, and it's scaled above God of War because at the moment I just enjoyed it and I thought it was that great of an experience. But I have to look at it.
What is quality? If you look at Battlefront 2 when it was first released, it had amazing. It has some of the best graphics in any video game. It has some of the best gameplay from any video game. It had a great story, and it was still a trash game.
Yeah.
So all that stuff doesn't mean anything.
I agree.
The actual game itself, the feeling of it, the experience that you get from it is what matters.
And what I've seen from Phasmophobia as a multiplayer game, I'm just not a big multiplayer game, so I don't hold it to the same candle. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm not big on multiplayer.
That's your problem for not
my
liking
experience
multiplayer.
is great, and this is exactly what my Phasmophobia experience is going to be. I'm going to play 3 matches to 5 matches. I'm going to go in. I'm going to be like, wow, this is so cool. I can interact with the ghosts. When I speak, they follow me. I can go out in the forest. I'm going to try and hide. I'm going to try and discover these objects to see if I can survive as long as I can until the end of the time limit so I can survive. And then I'm going to be like, great, I'm done. And that's my experience. Because that's how multiplayer experiences are for me.
I think you're weirdly biased about it. Dude,
think about it like this.
You tout PT at such a high standard, and in a game that basically does a multiplayer PT, you're just like, it's trash because it's indie.
I tout PT, but in its own category. I don't say PT is better than Uncharted. I just say PT.
You said that I've heard you say countless times that PT
games.
Exactly. When it's just a hallway.
It's one of the best horror experiences. I'm not saying that that Phasmophobia isn't one of the best horror experiences. It probably is. I'm just not holding Phasmophobia to a caliber of God of War. That's all I'm saying. It's 2 completely different ball games. It's like taking a kid.
Why did you bring up? You brought up the point of AAA budget, but I could tell you a bunch of AAA games that were trash. I understand
that management and studio makes use of it. But what I'm saying is, when you put the caliber of Phasmophobia and you compare it to God of War, it's just unfair. It's just an unfair battle.
I mean, what do you want? It's a small, tiny studio. That's the best.
But that's what I'm trying to say. That's why I don't put it in the same category, because it's unfair. I judge it based off what I see, and what I see is I just hold it to an indie caliber. And as an indie game, it's good, but that's it.
If you put it, you could compare it easily to something like Cyberpunk, and it'll beat Cyberpunk any day of the week. I know there's probably CDPR fans that aren't going to agree with that, but that's just the case. Like, Phasmophobia is a better, more complete game that delivered on what they promised. compared to Cyberpunk, and it's just a better quality, despite the fact that the graphics aren't as nice. It's not as open world.
Ultimately, there are companies that make flops. For every game, big AAA budget that flops, there's like 10 indie games that flopped. I agree with you that, I agree that there's times where people just, in management wise, they just suck. And I agree that there are experiences in the indie space.
What I say I agree with you, and what you're saying is that there's more flops in general. I don't think you could give me a ratio of this many AAA wins versus this many, because you could go to GameStop, find a bunch of AAA games that are trash, like easily.
No, yeah, I can. Well,
for you to be like, this is a really good game, you'd probably have to be like looking at the shelf and be like, okay, this one's good, bad, good,
okay, let me tell you, the only people really bringing out AAA, quote unquote, on what its standard is, it's Sony, Xbox, which they haven't released anything yet, EA, which they've flopped all life, Ubisoft, which is whatever, and then Square Enix and Bethesda. That's it. Everything else outside of that's not within those 6 brands I just named are pretty much not AAA. They are AA. They usually have less budget, smaller teams, this and that. So I understand what you're saying, but when I hold the caliber to something, I don't even put. See, this is the thing. I don't even put Far Cry games or Assassin's Creed games in the same caliber as I do the Sony first party. I put Sony first party versus Xbox first party versus Nintendo first party, because first party is not only the highest end of the production, but also and production value, but also the most amount of interest in making sure a product works well. The other 3 companies I mentioned, Activision, all that stuff, they're all just trying to get your money, so their only focus is to get your money as best as they can, whether the game sucks or not. You see what I'm saying? Like when I hold it, like I put my leagues like this. I put the first party titles up here because they are their own league, and obviously that's like,
I don't know.
That's going to be the most amount of effort put in.
I think it's too disrespectful. Minecraft for the longest time has been the number one. It's still been like the number one most played game like in all of existence, and that's an indie title. So I think no, you could probably still get up. It's still probably one of the most top played games.
It was a top indie. It is now a first party. Well, it has now been produced, and the money is going into Microsoft.
I think the mentality that you have and how you're disregarding Phasmophobia is damaging, because you keep.
I'm not disregarding. Like, who's talking about Phasmophobia today?
Huh?
Like, who's talking about Phasmophobia today?
Well, I don't know how. I forgot how this even got here.
You brought this conversation because you're bringing up an anecdotal comment I made months before.
No, you were talking about it right now because you were talking. I don't know why you went the route of talking about AAA and all that. You need to have less arrogance when you're bringing up AAA games, because the budget has nothing to do with how good a game is.
I'm not just bringing up AAA games because
the podcast later, but you brought it up literally like right now.
I'm not talking about just AAA. I'm talking about first party. Then there's the mid part, which is everybody else, and then there's indies. And
that's
indies
fine, but
take over this
literally
part too.
A couple minutes ago, you could rewatch the podcast later if you want. You said something like, "Oh, I don't know." You said some ignorant thing where like AAA is best. Right? I'm just like, that's
my only words that you have to understand are, I'm not gonna put an indie name, which is like the kids league, and compare them to the major league. It's just unfair.
You can't say that.
I can say I'm not gonna put a 12-year-old kid against a 50-year-old dude that's like masterful at baseball.
An indie studio is not a 12-year-old kid, or it's not a master or whatever. Because you can see so many AAA games that suck and that's not masterful at all. It's just a big budget that flops. You can't say that. Dude, you can't say it's a little kid's league. It's not. That's just wrong.
I can say it's just unfair.
Wrong. It's not unfair. Why does Minecraft have more players than God of War? Or it's stupid. It's just stupid.
Okay,
it's incorrect.
Just because it has more players doesn't mean any. All it is that it's just a continuous game that you can continuously play. Yeah, that's always gonna have more players. In the same way that Warzone does.
More copies sold, dude.
Cheaper and free at times. And then on top of that, more copies sold because it's been around longer.
You can ask the majority of gamers nowadays.
It's more open.
You could ask the majority of gamers nowadays, and you're going to probably find more people that say they prefer Minecraft over God of War.
You're just talking about preference over quality. Again,
who are you to say
it's like
quality,
Serta who says, you know, and the big Scorsese comment when they said, you know, the Marvel movies to me are just like a fun carnival ride compared to the movies that have emotional impact.
I don't know. To me, it kind of sounds like you're being a snob and a little bit of a gatekeeper.
I'm not being a snob. I'm just comparing.
It sounds like you're being a little bit of a gatekeeper.
Whatever, dude. I don't care. At the end of the day, I play all these games anyways. So I really don't fucking care, because at the end of the day, they all come in through my library and they all come out with trophies platted. So regardless of whether you can say, I could put my opinion wherever the fuck I want, because at the end of the day, I play all of them anyways to completion. It's not
it's disrespectful. Like if you like, okay, I can understand, for example, that our podcast is small right now. If you, as a friend of mine, commented to me that I'm a little kid in the small leagues trying to play against people in the big leagues, I take that as disrespect. Well, you shouldn't disrespect it that way. It's someone.
I would just take
it as somebody. It's somebody who's trying to do the best with what they do. It's somebody doing the best with what they do.
You gotta play with your league.
But
You
They
build
still-
up to it. You grow
they
as
still-
you get better. As
that's
you get better,
fine.
you build up, and then you get to it. Minecraft.
But they still
start off
they've
small,
still outperformed
but they got
a
a good
majority of
idea.
people that do AAA.
You're not getting me. Minecraft did a good job as an indie game, and then they grew into the big leagues. That's how it works. But I'm not going to hold a candle to, like, for example, I bought The Lone Survivor. That game looks pretty interesting, but it's just a pixelated survival horror game with, like, you know, like, just it's like a NES game. That's like I don't even know what the game's about. Like I just bought it because it looked interesting to me. It was like $1. I was like, whatever. It looks interesting to me. I still don't know what the fucking game's about. But what I read was a psychological horror thriller where you just go into and do a narrative and play the game. But I'm not gonna hold that game to the same caliber as I do God of War. It's just unfair.
I don't know, man. I disagree with you there.
Her story was a fantastic game. It got Game of the Year and it blew out everything. I'm still not gonna hold it to the same caliber
Like,
as a first person.
I don't
game.
know. I don't know exactly what you're trying to say when you're not going to hold it to the same caliber because budget isn't it, graphic
It's
quality
an
isn't
unfair
it.
okay, it's like me getting a track and field person from high school and putting him up in the Olympics. It's unfair.
I'm telling
you're not trained for it.
You're not
You're not
explaining.
built
You're
for it,
not
you're not
explaining to me
experienced.
what is the differential thing that actually separates it because budget isn't it, graphic quality isn't it.
It's
the
not just
music that goes
graphic
into it
quality.
isn't
It's
it.
just not music quality. It's not just
It's not-
programming
it's not
quality. It's
even-
literally experience. You can't put a person who just came out of the university and make him compete with somebody who's been in the freaking industry for 30 years, dude. You
But
have
you
to
can.
cross.
Phasmophobia is a better game than Cyberpunk by every stretch of the imagination. Hades is a better game than Cyberpunk by every stretch of the imagination.
Right. Okay. And
I'm comparing it. How can you tell me it's not comparison? And how can you say it's not a better quality game, even though
It is a
despite the
better
fact
quality
that
game.
it's a lesser experience according to what you're saying?
I'm not saying that an indie game can be better than a AAA game. I'm just saying I'm not gonna hold them into the same thing. I'm gonna be more forgiving if they fuck up because they're more likely to fuck up. They're not as experienced. I'm gonna be more forgiving if they can't give me God of War like graphics because they can't. They don't have the money for it, nor the engines, nor the computers.
But okay, but you're flip flopping too much. You gotta just give me a
I'm
straight
not
answer, man.
flip-flopping. The
Yes, you're
reason
saying
why
it's not the
look,
graphics. You're saying
the
the
reason-
experience, but then you go
look,
back and you say it's like the graphics.
Cyberpunk. I'm giving you the things I forgive them on. I'm saying experience as a programmer. I'm not gonna hold them the same caliber because they haven't run the mile yet. They haven't trained for the 5K.
But as far as a better, like
And
they
look,
could.
you can say that yes, it's better than Cyberpunk. I'm not saying that AAA games are inevitable from fucking up because Cyberpunk exists, right? They fucked up. But when the match hits, it's always going to be a run over, no matter
It's
what.
not.
Yes,
That's so
you're
ignorant.
talking about Minecraft. Okay, fine. Warzone came out in 2 years.
Bro,
They shot on all numbers and
Marvel
lists
Avengers.
everywhere.
Marvel Avengers had
They
a
didn't
budget.
have-
They
they
had
didn't-
a budget
Money
that could
doesn't matter.
destroy-
I'm talking about when the developers click.
I'm
that
sure that
creativity hits.
the developers that were
No,
on
they
Marvel's Avengers have 10 times more experience.
They
All
didn't
your
click,
points that you're
but they
saying,
didn't click. The ideas didn't click.
all right, but then there's studios that are indie studios and they do. Bro, Among Us is literally like a
I'm not
$2
saying I never
mobile
said,
game
I
and
never
it could
said,
bury
I
like a
never
lot of games
said,
with a big
I never
budget.
said that any of these games can't be better than a AAA game.
You're not
I'm
even
saying that
defining
in a
experience. You're
I'm
saying things and then you're
programming
going back and
experience,
forth.
and I'm telling you, when the time comes, literally all I'm trying to say is that in the same way that indie games, they put their passions to the game, when the AAA developer does the same thing, it breaks and shatters everything. And you can say whatever you want, but Last of Us Part 2, for whatever it is, you can say, like gamers say billions of things. To this day, it stands as the highest, most rewarded game of all freaking time.
Crap Mo Stank made a face because he's scared at this argument. Look, I think we should move on from this.
Look.
The only thing I want to comment is, and this will be my closing comment. Just choose your words more carefully when you talk about indie studio games, and like actually find and search for what your definition of what makes a good game is, because you keep flip-flopping on points from like, oh, graphics to the experience, which you don't even define what the experience is or whatever. You can find
But look,
many. Wait, hold on. Don't interrupt me. I'm just gonna give you my closing comment.
Tell you right
Let
now,
me say what my closing
Cyberpunk's
comment is. Give me
graphics
1
are
second.
worse than Phasmophobia.
No, they're
Why?
not.
Because
No, they're not.
vertical banding,
No, they're
texture
not.
deletion,
No,
the
they're
fact
not.
that they disappear, the game breaks on you. That is worse than a game that's like
It's
Phasmophobia.
inconsistent, but at the top, when
That's
it
a
works,
problem.
it's at its best. Let me just put this out, because this you're misunderstanding my point, and you're failing to define your own point as well. The only thing I'm trying to say is, at least in front of me, I don't want to hear, oh, AAA or first party is better, because I could point at tons of failures.
Michael, as of this day, Last of Us Part 2, which I do not agree with, is the highest rewarded game. And I don't agree with it, but I have to accept it because it is the highest rewarded game. And it is universally known as the best game out there graphically, experience wise, it is the top end of everything. It is considered the top end of everything.
That is
There's
fine.
no argument against it. It's already known. I have to
What is
agree
it?
with it.
Okay, what about people who have problems with the narrative? You can't just throw it
You
out there
don't
and be
like
best
something
game.
doesn't mean that it can't be good. I might not like Captain America 1, but it's still a well-made movie.
What? But you're not.
I might not like
you're not.
Phasmophobia, but I have to agree that it's a well-made game. I agree. I'm not saying I disagree.
Okay? Just stop saying stuff that like indie studios are little kids and all that, and the little kid league and all that, because it's not. That's disrespectful. It's disrespectful. It's what it is.
You're
can have
taking offense
something.
for people you shouldn't have to. I agree. That
I'm not taking offense for it.
Look, you might take offense to this, but I consider our podcast the same because we're learning the ropes. We're learning how to do this. We're learning lighting. We're learning setup. It took us 25 episodes to get to this.
But when you're not actually giving proper definitions to any of this stuff, you could literally just say, "Is Fortnite really a good game because of all the kids around the world who love it?"
Exactly. It's a well-made game, but I'm not gonna compare it to Last of Us. It doesn't give me.
But can you say
experience.
Can you say it's a bad? Can you say it's a bad
successful game? It's a
Can
good
you say
game.
it's a bad game?
It's a good game and it's successful. But I wouldn't say
It's a battle royale game, so it does what it does. Because same as you say, okay, obviously I love God of War. It was one of my favorite games on the PlayStation. But if the thing I'm trying to say is that you're coming at it very ignorant because like you're not giving me a defined thing that
I'm separating my
guy. Let me make a point. Let me talk for 2 seconds.
Hey.
If you're saying like you're not giving me anything that makes Phasmophobia a worse games or something that makes it deserve to be called Little League outside of you just like that's what I'm saying. You're not committing to giving me a reason why it's a Little League game.
Okay.
You keep saying budget, but then it's not the budget. Then you say graphics, but not the graphics. Then you say the experience, but not the experience. You're flip flopping and you're not defining anything.
Separating.
If I get God of War and I say, oh no, but look, it doesn't have as big a world as GTA 5 or a multiplayer as expensive GTA 5. God of War is a trash game. That doesn't make any sense. Give me a definition to what you need to be a big league game.
The problem is that with gaming, it's hard to make a point without putting your opinion and your values into it. I'm separating myself from interest. I just told you I have to agree with the fact that Last of Us Part 2 in itself is the most lauded game of all time. It is considered the most highly technical game ever. It was considered game of the year. It has gotten the most amount of awards. It is considered the best graphically dense game, the best budget to production value game, the best character design game, the best narrative driven game, despite the fact I don't agree with it.
Okay.
I have to remove myself just because I don't like the game in the same way as others, and I consider God of War to be the better game. I have to remove myself and understand that is the higher end game, production wise and everything. I agree with the Phasmophobia being a great and fantastic game.
But do you know what production wise means?
I'm not gonna compare it to friggin' Last of Us, dude. It's just unfair.
Okay, but why is it when it comes to games, you're saying that The Last of Us Part 2, and I agree, The Last of Us Part 2 is probably a great game. I haven't finished playing it. It's a good game. But people criticize it for the narrative. If you look at Star Wars, you yourself have said that the new Star Wars movies are shitty, despite the fact that the budgets are massive. The costume design is phenomenal. The sound effects design, phenomenal. Everything about it, phenomenal. What's the thing that people tear it apart at? The narrative itself. And that's something that's quote unquote subjective.
Well, I mean, it's not just that. I mean, the characters were highly unmotivated and disinterested and flat.
The characters are all part of the narrative. I'm generalizing it under the umbrella term of narrative, like things that people find wrong with it. You know, the pacing, the story, the characters, the character development, obviously the inconsistencies from movie to movie. But I'm saying, like, these are things that are worthy of criticism, and they're things that can also garnish admiration, even for games that belong to smaller studios. So I disagree with where you're coming, saying little league games versus big league games, because I think that's ignorant. You could make a better experience with a way smaller budget, a way smaller studio than something that you make in a way larger studio. And again, I cite things like Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk, under your definition, is technically a big league game. It was just shit. But I'm not going to say, like, CD Projekt Red to me lost my respect. I'm not going to call them big league anything. What, big league liars? Big league, manipulators. Like, again, I'm not. You have to be right. In
the same way that the MLB has the kids league, they have the college league, high school league, and they have these leagues, right? In the same way that UFC has welterweight, the higher end ones, the amateur runs, everything has a league, right? You have a start everywhere. And the indie space, there are times where small indie games far outclass anything we have. I agree with that, but it's unfair to them when you get overrun by Call of Duty Warzone, for example. It's like I can't put them I have to put them in their own limelight and give them their own praise because they deserve their own thing. But if I if I don't do that and I compare them with Call of Duty, what's going to happen is that Call of Duty marketing and everything.
We're getting homies in the comments. I don't know if you want to reply to them as well. So, hold on. Sorry. Crapmo Stank? Is that his name? I don't have my glasses on, so I can't read. Crapmo Stank. Nice name. I like that. He says, I think Fortnite is ass. That's a valid point. And I think, honestly, the thing we're saying here is that everyone has a right to their own opinion. And Jordan has a right to his own opinion. But he's my friend and he's my co-host on the podcast. So I'm just saying that I dislike his take or his words in using that.
You don't have to agree with me. I'm fine with that.
I understand what you're saying to a certain extent. Like maybe if you're talking about like specifically awards and stuff or whatever.
Look, it's not just the word. I'm giving them their limelight because they deserve it. They need to be put in that league.
I'm just saying when it comes to objective criticism, I don't think that anything about like being in a big league.
Flower is a game where you just fly a pedal. That game to me is better than Cyberpunk.
But
for example.
Yeah, I understand.
But it's just unfucking fair.
But it's not. Okay, look, let's just address these comments first because we're going to keep going here. Corey Run says Cyberpunk was awesome. Everyone jumped on the Crybaby bandwagon. They literally just concentrated on the glitches and how it was broken. Story was awesome. Story was amazing. Okay, so this thing for me, because I know there's a lot of people that defended Cyberpunk. I can't speak to any of that stuff. The only thing I know is I saw a lot of the promises that they made for what the game was going to be. In terms of like, you know, the fact that it was going to be this great overarching branching storyline that would have all this dialogue that impacted the game. I didn't really see any of that. And the main thing for me was when I tried playing it, because I tried streaming that game on my own Twitch channel.
Which
it did not work at all. You can actually
show the video if you want to pull it up.
Yeah, I have like, no, it's too long. It's like a 2-hour long video.
Just skip to the highlights.
I guess I could. Like when I posted that on my YouTube channel as well. I posted my playthrough of Cyberpunk and literally nothing worked. Like it was really, really bad. The game crashed like multiple times and everything was just busted. Now, the little bit that I got it to work, I saw the skeleton of like a very good game. But it wasn't, to me, it didn't seem like it was anything that they were promising. And on top of that, it was just really buggy. And you know, I already had the experience or the misfortune of getting burned on a bunch of like the purchases that I made for games in 2020. So it really rubbed me wrong because that was kind of like how I ended my 2020. And I was like, disregard this game. Like maybe one day I think it could be fixed, but I don't know. For me, it wasn't the best.
Right. I mean, personally, like I said, I mean, I haven't really had the experience to say much about Cyberpunk other than the stuff I've seen, the evidence and all that, and the fact that I played it here at your house. I mean, the game to me, I'm sure I'll enjoy it, right? I like all those type of games, but the problem is that Cyberpunk was promoted as something more than, and to me, it just looks like Fallout 3, right? Where it's just, you're going to have this isolated experience, it's going to be great and all that, but it's not going to be bigger than what it is, which is when they were promoting Cyberpunk, to me, it felt like it was going to be the next GTA, where it was going to be bigger than life, and they're going to do all these crazy things, and they were going to recreate like the way you imagine playing a game. I didn't get that.
I think what happened with Cyberpunk was basically that was a solid case of marketing going out of control and the directors of the studio going out of control too. Yeah. Because I know that the devs themselves for Cyberpunk are actually a good bunch of guys. But when I look at a corporation as a whole, like CD Projekt Red, that includes upper management and stuff too. And you and I both have experience of working with horrible management when we've had our previous jobs, you know. You can't unfortunately separate a company itself from its management to its lower level workers. Obviously, I'm not gonna sit here and say that all the guys that worked on CD Projekt Red are bad dudes, but as a company, they could have handled Cyberpunk a lot better.
No, I agree, and I mean that actually brings that actual comment brings a lot of it makes a segue perfectly into the next topic, right? Which was the other half. I mean, I wanted to do. Well, actually, you know what? We can bring up the Horizon thing.
Well, look, we got one hell of a mini episode right there from arguing on behalf of indies
we can do
versus big ones.
I just want to get it across though to finish, and then we'll do the Horizon, and then we'll do the next topic. But essentially, it'll segue us perfectly into Horizon. But essentially, I just want to say this: I love indie games. To me, Flower is still one of the most. I don't know why Flower is amazing to me, but I love that game, and I'm about to replay it for like the 5th time for no reason whatsoever and get the trophies yet a 3rd time because I just loved it. I do like indie games. I'm excited. I was excited for the Pathless. I just didn't have money to get it. I'm excited for Stray the Cat game. I'm excited to see what don't make the dog go crazy because I'm a camera just.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's content.
Yeah, we have a dog right here, and he's about to go nuts and drop the camera.
Let me show him.
Yeah. Damn it, bro. The setup. Bro, skeleton's first setup. The camera's like angled. Yeah, there's a dog. Oh well, look. Crap Moshank. I know that you're saying that people were hyping it over, and I agree with you to an extent. But if you actually look, like, there's literal reports of the E3 demos that were shown off to us from 2018 and all the stuff the previews they showed off are almost not in the game because they literally created that entire 40-minute demo to showcase something that doesn't exist in the game.
To his benefit, I think what he's just saying is that the narrative is something that he enjoyed. Which
I
ultimately,
agree.
like, the narrative, like writing and actors and stuff, that's all separate from like the actual like promises that were made on how a game was going to function or whatever.
They actually said that there was going to be expansive narrative.
I know that for sure. That they didn't deliver on like the whole branching. Yeah. Like, it's not as branching as they promised and stuff. But I think what they're trying to say too is that it still makes for like an enjoyable.
If you look up Kroby Cat and look up at his expose like video where he like literally back to back shows everything that was on E3 versus like what's in the game, you'll see everything they took out from the game. And then on top of it, if you go deeper and you compare the E3 demo and like the quest line, the entire 40 minutes, and you look at it, comparing it to what's in the game, you'll see that there's a lot of stuff that we're taking out and are not available. Those two video, like the specific Kroby Cat one is enough, but if you still want more, you can search on it on your own. Just compare quest lines to the E3 demo. Oh yeah, it is like that in E3.
That's funny that they're bringing that.
They're bringing up our next point, but the problem is that whereas like stuff like what they do in Sony and all that is like more like just minor downgrades, like lighting and stuff, and maybe like a couple things that are scripted. That specific demo was like they said this is all things you can do in the game, and then they took it out of the game. You'll see what I'm talking about when you see the Kroby Cat video.
If anything, we could do a reaction to the video as well. Like, just watch it with them.
Oh yeah, if you guys want to do it, we'll do that.
Division, Watch Dogs. Yeah, Watch Dogs was one of the worst offenders of all time.
That's
Anthem
what we're
was
trying
one of the worst offenders of all time. Division was one of the worst offenders of all time. Yeah, let's just go for it. Okay, so right now what we're gonna do is
we'll leave Horizon for later.
We're gonna look at Horizon.
Okay, so we are doing.
Yeah, let's look at Horizon because I want to get
quick.
I want to get into a discussion that we kind of got into yesterday because I like. Oh, I'll be honest with you guys. I already saw it, but I want to watch it with you guys. I looked at the Horizon trailer.
Bring it up.
I thought it looked amazing, but I don't think that's gonna be. It looked too good. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like when you look at it, I actually saw a zoomed in picture on Twitter, and like you could literally see like the facial hairs. Like, I'm not talking about like my beard hair, but like I'm talking about like the little like specks of hair that like when you get goosebumps, like that sort of hair, you can literally see it on the character's model if you zoom in, and I thought that was freaking crazy. But Michael,
Give me a second, guys. The dog disconnected my keyboard, so
okay,
I
try
need
again.
a little bit.
Yeah, Forbidden West gameplay. There you go. Right, just the second one. There you go. Click. Yeah, of course. So transition.
This, to me, right? And notice how it already says. I know that every one of them has this.
Well,
but this is just very important.
I know
to point
Sony
out.
does it the most because they obviously want to tell you this subject.
I know, and that's trying to keep it honest. But I still think the practice of putting something on E3 and then stripping it down later is something that's super bad. Because if you're gonna punish companies for making commercials on products or services that aren't video games, for sprucing them up a lot and doing commercials about them, I feel like, it's kind of bad if video games do it too. And I know that there's other things like fast food and all that obviously they don't even put like the actual food. They'll like like a turkey and like paint it or whatever, and then that's what you see and all that. And I'm not favorable to that either because I know that marketing can be kind of deceitful and like marketing in itself might not be the most.
I'm trying to find myself here because
don't worry, I'll tell you now. But look, So obviously on the bottom area it says captured on PS5. Mix of gameplay and in-game cinematics. Final game content subject to change. That's the most important part. Final game content subject to change.
Yeah.
Now I know for a lot of the times is that maybe games are in development like several years out from when they're going to be released. So stuff can happen, but it's also a very big coincidence that the changes tend to be a lot of the time downgrades to like.
Well, yeah, because the last thing you leave is the graphics for the frame rate, right? You want to make sure the game has proper frame rate so that the game works.
Yeah.
Because if not, you just.
So far, this is a cutscene, right? So this is like believable, whatever. It might be, you know, CGI. You know, looks pretty believable so far. You know, you got the God rays coming in from the lighting on the left there. You got the beautiful hair lighting everywhere. Look at those, the hair graphics, all that.
The
textures are
already
phenomenal.
in the cutscene, so this leads me to believe that it's in-game engine. And it's
yeah,
not
her
CGI.
hair is clipping through the clothes a little bit, right?
Yeah, you can see it there, clip a little bit. But I think that's because they're still working on the hair engine, which is actually good because that means it's showing us what's actually in the game.
Yeah, so that's fair. That's like whatever. I mean, this is a cutscene, so ultimately that's whatever. Now I'm gonna point out specifically the parts where I'm just like, I don't know about that. And then you guys can tell me if you disagree or not. So far, I guess the game looks pretty believable for this current gen, like with PS5 and all that. You know, I can believe that. But there was a couple things where I saw it, I was like, I don't know, man. That looks too good to be true.
Well, no, I mean, of course, it looks too good to be true because we've never had anything like this. This is too much. You can already tell there's like expansive amounts of
look at that.
water.
Look at that. Already, that's already kind of sketchy. Look at the amount of trees that are there. Look at the fog, the God rays. Look at that water. Like, I'm already like, are we really getting this?
Yeah.
Look at the amount of foliage, dude. The amount of shadows, everything. That's a lot.
I think we'll get close to this. I don't think we'll have all of it, but I think we'll get close enough to where it'll be hard. Like, you'll have to look into things to see the difference, right? I think that's what it is. But this is supposed to be San Francisco post-apocalyptic world, so you know we're gonna see some of the crazy. Now this is the part where we're getting close to the part where Michael here is gonna say BS and he's just gonna call it like this is garbage.
Okay, like look at the water now. The transparency on it with the reflections, that's pretty busted. And then wait, once they get into the water, that's where it starts to get like really
water
crazy.
Physics are just crazy, just mind blowing.
And by the way, guys, I'm not trying to hate or anything. I'm just saying if this game ends up looking this way, I think we'll probably have one of the best looking games like graphically. Like I think we'd be hard pressed to try to find the game that looks as good as this because this looks like a whole ass like movie pretty much. Yeah, but that's where I'm saying it's a red flag because every single time I've seen something that looks this good in a trailer, it always gets downgraded.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't think that this will be the final product. I think we're gonna get very close to this. Like you see, maybe like the facial hairs will probably disappear. You know, we might get slightly less foliage.
I think stuff like the facial hair and stuff might actually stay.
I think we'll get reflections, but I think they'll be like 480p reflections rather than the 1080p reflections that we got through RTX that they promised. Kind of like Spider-Man Miles Morales, right? Where if you look, sorry guys, if you look at the reflections in Miles Morales, you get 1080p reflections in 4K.
The lighting to me is what gets me, dude. Did you see that part after she did the explosion, ran away from the raptor and get to the building? There was a bunch of smoke and you see the God rays coming down. Like, there's no way. There's no way. Look at that water. Look at that water. There's no way that's gonna end up looking like that.
But isn't that RTX?
Well, yeah, but also just look at that. Like, I don't know, dude. Like, I know the power of RTX is phenomenal, but like on a PS5 to get this,
I don't think it's gonna be 60 frames. That's for sure.
Well, probably not. It's probably to get this look, you'd probably have to play it on 30. But regardless, I'm thinking this still might be too good for even 30.
This is the part where Michael calls BS.
Just look at that.
Look at the transition to underwater.
Look at the amount of foliage even underwater. I don't know if that's like the SSD loading at work and like all that unloads once you go over the water.
Well, yeah, that's supposed to be SSD.
But even just going down, because like there's a little bit of a load there. I don't know if you noticed that, where it does like the bubbly water screen as you're going down. Look at that.
Well, yeah, but that is how you feel in real life.
Look at those water. Look at that.
Dive, you feel the
look at that.
hitting you.
Look at that. Look at the amount of foliage, the bubbles, and then the school of fish. I just call bullshit. I don't believe that.
I mean, I don't think
they even made a point to swim in it to show how like
I don't think it's gonna be as animated.
Look how dense that is. Look at all the nah. I call bullshit. There's no way all those fish are gonna be there.
Any of this is gonna be as animated.
Look at the God rays in the water. You can see the refraction of the light through the top of the water. I don't believe that. Look at that. No. Nah, that school of fish is not going to be that big when you get the game.
Like I said,
refuse
I
to
don't
believe
think
it.
all the animations the way they are going to be there. 'Cause that's too many animations on screen, and that's going to soak up a lot of CPU.
Is this on PC?
No.
You're gonna get a PS5. The release will be like this. Well, I suggest honestly look at actual gameplay before you buy it, because I don't buy that this is gonna look that good. It's probably gonna look amazing.
It's gonna look amazing, and it's gonna play.
Yeah, like, for the first Horizon, like for the time that the first Horizon came out, it was actually like really top notch looking for how it is. And this is also gonna be probably another amazing looker for PS5.
We're actually gonna look at a downgrade like from E3 of Horizon versus Horizon.
Like versus Horizon product. Like afterwards.
Yeah, and
but there's no way that this is gonna be the final look of Horizon. This shit looks busted. And just this is on PS5. I think they're gonna have timed exclusivity on Horizon for the PlayStation 5. They might release it on PC eventually.
It's gonna be same thing they did. They're gonna hold on to it for a couple of years, and then they'll send it over to Steam in like 3 or 4 years. So I mean, it just depends on how late you want to jump into the party and the conversation yourself. I mean, the console exclusivity thing is over. We actually have another episode on the console wars where we talk about it. At the end of the day, this is all like, it's just software. Like, what company owns the best IPs? And right now, I mean, Xbox. I mean,
there's a couple of dropped frames. The only thing is that this is also grabbed from a live stream,
and so it's also not work in progress.
It's not clear to me if it's dropping frames because like the video had trouble encoding or something like that with an internet connection, or just with like the actual stream itself. But it does look like there might be some performance issues. That's just not clear if it's the game or if it's the video itself. But look at that. The guys in the chat are saying Cyberpunk on PC maxed out was a struggle. PS5 ain't going to run like this. Like, nah, that was Corey Runs. And
wait, Spider-Man on PS5 was a struggle?
No. He said Cyberpunk on PC maxed out was a struggle.
Well, yeah. Okay. But hold on. Cyberpunk on PC was a struggle because it was poorly made, as Max said, not because the PC couldn't handle it.
Well,
the PC can handle it. It's the game that failed to encompass what the PC needs.
Cyberpunk, despite all its problems, it still had like pretty potent graphics. Like I saw it on Omar's. I saw Omar playing it on PC.
When the game loads wrong, it's gonna hit your GPU because the game is trying to load something that might not be immediately important to the screen. The reason why PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 works is the same reason why PC works, is because they have data streaming to stream the content that's necessary to the game in front of your eyes so you can see it.
Graphics aside, the combat is looking pretty amazing, by the way. Like, I'm definitely loving the combination of like mid-range, long-range combat to like close range, like quickly swapping between the staff and the arrow and stuff. And then it looks like you activate certain abilities with arrows, or like you hit certain parts of the armor.
This is the part where people think that this is all scripted because it's too cinematic-y.
Like the combat feels too cinematic?
Yeah, like I remember a lot of things like this in the first game, but there are some moments like when the enemy hits that it does feel a little cinematic.
It doesn't, and that feels wrong to me, like that's what I'm trying to tell people too, is that no matter, like I get it's a presentation, but ultimately if you're selling a product or a service, you can't just include stuff that you have no plans of including towards the end.
Last of Us' combat, like when you go into melee, it does feel cinematic. It cuts into a certain screen and you get locked into an animation thing, and then you gotta coordinate with the buttons to get the scene across, right? That's been there since Last of Us 1. The thing about Last of Us Part 2 is that in the demo, which I'll show you too, they made the enemies have more collision detection, which they didn't in that final product.
Dude, look how graphically dense this game is. There's no way it's going to look like this at the end.
I don't think it's going to look as good as this, but I think it's going to be close enough to where it's still going to scale above everything else we have anyway, in my opinion.
Nah, above everything else, I don't think so.
Yeah, there's nothing else. There's
nothing else. I don't think there's anything else like this.
Last of Us Part 2 is already considered highest graphical quality, according to Xbox. This is already above Last of Us Part 2. If it just has to meet 90% of this, and it's still above Last of Us Part 2. It just is. Right?
We'll see.
And even then, it'll hold the caliber for being the highest graphically dense game for an open world game too, because open world games
look at
usually
that
take an even
wave.
bigger
That was
hit.
crazy. The water physics are absolutely insane. I refuse to believe that this is going to be anywhere near this. If it is, probably very easy. I mean, it's still early in the year, but easy candidate for Game of the Year, possibly.
Nah, I wouldn't always say graphical. I mean, like I mentioned earlier, Her Story was a game that didn't have graphics, didn't have production, didn't have anything. It was made by one dude and one actress, and it's still won Game of the Year.
Wait, which one?
Her Story.
Oh, Her Story.
The case-driven game. Like it was an indie game that had no production, no graphics, nothing, and it had Game of the Year. So
maybe. But I mean, Just look at that though. That's pretty captivating, I gotta say. As far as the game experience goes, just based off looks. PC will be getting the remaster, says Crap Monk Stank. Cinematics might be added in for some combat moves. Yeah, that's definitely true. So kind of like what you were saying for
Last of Us, yeah.
For The Last of Us.
Yeah.
Oh, and then this is where it gets even crazier. Because if all that wasn't crazy, like the amount of fog, God rays, the foliage, the live animals, the water physics, everything. If that wasn't crazy enough, then they went ahead and added all the crazy the environmental destruction stuff as well, dude. Like, look at this. So this is like a boss fight or whatever. And the amount of sheer polygons and just NPCs on the screen right now must be insane. I mean, it's not that many. It's like, what, 3 NPCs on the back of the elephant creature thing? And then the mammoth itself. But that's still huge. Look at all the explosions going off and shit. You got all these buildings in the background, all that foliage. Look at the lighting. And then on top of that, the destruction effects that they're going to show off any second.
The sand, how it changes every time it laser blasts.
Yeah, that's called, what was it called? Interpolation, was it?
Yeah, I think so.
So the sand has like crazy interpolation, which even God of War had to like down the amount of interpolation it had by final release. It still had it, but like nowhere on the same scale as like what they showed off on E3.
Remember, a PS4 has 1/10 the power of a PS5.
Yeah, but if the video game industry has lied on their presentations for so long, look at that. Like you could go through, he's going through walls and stuff too, and you could be like, oh yeah, but that's not that much.
The thing that's kind of these are the points that I wanted to point out. So the things that are making me believe that this is or close to final product is, one, the UI usually never shows up in an E3 presentation, such as health, stamina, whatever, the weapon wheels, all that stuff. 2, hair clipping never happened in the E3 presentations. And 3, when she picked up the Gatling gun, the animation is usually fully blown out. Not just let it just transfer to my hands magically.
I mean, it looked clean enough to me that it could have been scripted.
Well, yeah, because it was fast.
Look at that. No way. There's no way. Did you see that? Literally a whole, like 2-3 buildings were there, like at least parts of them, and it just got brought down entirely. I don't think that that's going to be possible on PS5.
I also feel like this demo has been too heavily action-paced for a presentation, because usually they want to keep those contained so they can hide the flaws of stuff. But in this case, they kind of just let it go nuts, you know? So it's another point that I wanted to bring up of like, well, it doesn't necessarily feel like it's going to... I mean, it definitely feels like they're really close to the final product compared to before, right?
Yeah.
And usually the E3 presentations are usually a year or 2 out, whereas this presentation is supposedly only 6-7 months out.
Right.
You know, because the game's supposedly going to come out in November, December, so they only really have half the year to go.
Yeah.
I mean, they could downgrade, but I mean, how much time would they have to downgrade without breaking the entirety of the big fat game? You know, it's supposed to be a huge open world. But aside from that, what I think people aren't understanding is that the graphics aren't working the way they think it is.
Oh, and then look, also you commented on this. You said that you think that they're lying in how far.
Yeah, no, I didn't understand it, but they announced it. So basically, the entirety of the game is based off those 2 points right there: that hurricane coming, or the storm coming, or whatever that you see there, and that one other point in San Francisco. So the entire game is San Francisco, California. It's not. I thought it was going to be like multi-state.
The fact that they had to clear it up, though.
Well, no, I mean that's just unfair, right? Which open world game goes across like the entirety of the U.S. except for Microsoft's Flight Simulator? You know,
I get that.
Well, we don't know the story. You know, I mean, the story could be anything.
They could be setting it up so that way you explore more things like in the future. But I'm just saying already, like, think about it this way: you yourself questioned it already when you saw it yourself. So the fact that it needed clarification, you know.
I'm not gonna.
Okay, look. Let's just get into the discussion from yesterday.
Yeah. So now I guess we're gonna segue into E3 downgrades, and like I guess if you want, you can start off with the Spider-Man, which is the one that we started the conversation. But
wait, hold on. Let me see here. The Division had a massive combat presentation, says Corey Runs, and then Crisp says, Crap. I don't have glasses, so if I say your name wrong, it's my bad. I remember when the game was saying you could cross that bridge. Yeah, no, they completely lied about that. I don't know. Jordan, he somehow brings himself to play like Division 1 and Division 2. And I don't know how, man, because to me, I mean, I guess the game could be fun with a friend or two or whatever. but also just the lie, the level of the lie that they tried to sell to people.
I mean, the problem is
so bad that I lost
the problem is
well.
the division. I mean, I don't recall too many of the lies. I do recall that there were some downgrades graphically, obviously, because I mean that game just went beyond whatever anyone was trying. But regarding the combat situation, yes, it did have a big combat presentation, but it also had a lot of things like, oh, you're gonna have iPhone compatibility, and your friends can jump in and help you out like as AI, and it was a controlled situation in a controlled area that does not exist in the final product of the division. Again, same thing. It's like these are all big things that you're gonna see them now where we're being showed something and it's not what we're receiving in the final product. Now, regarding the division in the comment, I mean, it's still a fun game, and they gave me what they promised for the most part, which was I was going to explore a destroyed New York post whatever problem was going on in the game. I think it was like a giant disease or something like that. And despite all that, I was able to explore. You know, I got like cool weapons and this and that. I mean, it wasn't as everybody thought it was going to be like Destiny, and they hyped it up to be like that. It wasn't Destiny. But I still felt like what they were trying to go for, which was like at least the first game, where they were going for like the tactical, like you work as a team and you push forward and all that. Of course, at the end of the game, there was a lot of balancing issues, and I mean, people could it could go both ways. Like people can say that was fun, people can say it was not. I personally enjoyed the survival thing to an extent, the survival DLC. I enjoyed the underground DLC. I didn't enjoy the PvP. I didn't enjoy the Dark Zone that much, but I enjoyed going through the world and getting all stuff. The story could have been better because the first hour of the game is just like, bro, there's something here that's interesting. Like there's all this conspiracy and government stuff, but like Ubisoft fashion, as soon as they set the tone or like the theme of it being like some type of political comment or something like that, it just disappears, and it's just go shoot bad guy, go shoot bad guy 2, go shoot bad guy 3. Hey, great, you beat the game. I'm like, why are you gonna drop the whole precedence of the game?
Yeah, we're gonna look at a bunch of like comparison videos now to specifically see the differences between what was promised and then what was shown.
Okay, but first
I want to bring up my concerns just with. I guess I already said it real fast, but I just want to go over Horizon. What I think is gonna happen with Horizon. I think Horizon is probably for the most part gonna have a bunch of like good, like the combat's gonna be pretty similar to what was presented. Maybe it's gonna just overall be less graphically impressive, but the amount, I'm guaranteeing you, the amount of like god rays, fog, foliage, the amount of like animals in the water and stuff like fish and all that, that's probably going to be reduced greatly. And I'm imagining the reflections and the refractions of the light and stuff is going to be reduced greatly. It's not going to be, you're thinking it's going to be 90% of that? I don't think so. I think it's going to be reduced by like 50-40% or something. Like there's no way they're going to get that close.
I'm not saying it's going to, okay. If they reach 90%, that's all they need. That's like the minimum they need to hit.
Oh, like that's what
I'm trying to say.
For it to still be amazing.
No, for them to still, be able to tout graphically, overpowering game or whatever they want to, the narrative they want to drive that the game is like the most graphically amazing gamer, they need to hit 90%. Corey, regarding your comment on Dark Zone, I do agree that Dark Zone was fun at times, but there was like, for me, there was just a lot of issues that I took away from it personally. Like, for example, like at the beginning of like when the game first came out, I remember there were times where like I literally be running, a person would be my exact same level and I'd have similar stats at him, but for whatever reason he was like a god and like his shield wouldn't drop, and then like literally you couldn't kill him, and then he could 1v4 my entire team even though there was 4 of us against him. And then literally there was a time where I was like doing like we were chasing down like manhunts, like a whole server was doing it, and like 8 people couldn't beat this one dude, and it's just that sort of stuff just kind of, it kind of just dulls the experience. Now, granted, I do understand the fun of Dark Zone. I just don't like the PvP aspect of it. But then again, I'm not a big PvP guy, so that of course makes me biased already. But I have tried it. I did try to enjoy it. It wasn't for me. All right, so go ahead and bring up your points. I don't know if you want to bring up Spider-Man.
Well, for Horizon, that was just pretty much it. I guess it's probably better to move to Horizon. But I guess to set the tone for the conversation, I just want to quickly state that I want to know what your guys' opinion is on this stuff, because yesterday Jordan was telling me that he doesn't feel like it was that much of an issue, but for me, it just rubs me the wrong way. And of course, there's scales to it, right? So not everyone is doing something like burning down your house, taking your wife and kids, taking your car, and peeing on your dead body or something like that. Like with some cases, which I know you guys don't want me to bring up Cyberpunk, so I don't know. I'll bring up another one. Like what was a pretty big lie? I guess how Rainbow Six Siege looked compared. Like Rainbow Six Siege is an amazing game, but it looked night and day different from what was presented in E3, for example. So that was a pretty big offense, right? Like lying like that big. Or it could be something as small as like, what you got from Spider-Man 2018, which, by the way, one of my favorite games on the PlayStation. I'm not saying it's bad, But when the game was first presented, it almost looked like it was hyper realistic lighting. The buildings in the background had a lot more like characteristics to them, like gazebos and plants and all that stuff. The weather looked more dynamic, and then like puddles, like it had a lot more puddles, and the reflections were more believable. Whereas to the PlayStation 4 version, it was comparable somewhat, but the lighting on Spider-Man looked completely like fake, like it looked static because obviously they didn't have RTX at the time.
Right. I'm gonna just go ahead and cut in here real quick, just so you guys know. Michael is a big enthusiast for camera work and lighting, so that's gonna be a lot of his impression towards a game. Right. I don't give a fuck. So
I used to do a lot of like drawing and animation and all that, and I like watching stuff like Corridor Crew, which are like VFX guys. So I'm just interested in that sort of thing. And so to me, minor adjustments or minor like reductions in the graphical quality bother me. And then also Jordan was trying to make the argument to me that Spider-Man wasn't downgraded that bad, or it wasn't downgraded, that was just a creative direction, because Insomniac themselves responded to this saying stuff like, oh look, we added puddle stickers, so now it's not downgrade. Like, you know, they were being kind of spiteful about it, which I get. I get that people shouldn't hate on them just for removing puddles, because that's not the end of the world. But also, I think it's a little disingenuous to not admit that you did reduce the quality of the graphics a tiny bit. You know, like, just, you should admit that you did a tiny bit, and that's fine, because everyone does it. But don't lie that you did it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just real quick. So Corey, yeah, I know the grenade shot. That was also crazy. Or like the grenade shot could literally like one cap like 3 people standing next to each other. Yeah, I remember those days, like the early Division days in 2016.
Was that better or worse?
No, there was some funny business. I mean, people say it got better. I still hate it, but well, hate's a strong word. I just dislike it, but still, the point is, I mean, it's just not for me. But yes, I remember those days where like if you had the right build, a single grenade shot lob could just like destroy people's lives. So that is definitely there in my memory. So here we're gonna pull up the first video of Spider-Man E3 versus Retail, and Michael's gonna point out from his point of view, like, you know, with the camera work and all that, what he sees that was downgraded and how he feels cheated out of his complete experience that he was promised. Yeah. Personally, I don't care. I was Spider-Man. The only thing I wanted was to play Spider-Man, so that's what I got.
Yeah, and you know what? To be fair, it was like the best Spider-Man game ever made. And I was always wanting something like this since like the Spider-Man 2 on PS2. Just take a look at this, guys, all right? So, Insomniac sat here and told us to our face that everything was just directive. It was art. What was it? What was the word that they used? It was just a change in direction or whatever. That is still not a downgrade.
They didn't like the puddle there.
Yeah, and all that. But just take a look at Spider-Man himself, bro. Like, what do you mean that you didn't downgrade the graphics, my guy? Look at, you can see like all the dimples and shit and like the skin of his head on the left. Look at the reflections to show where the light's hitting him strongest and stuff like that. Versus on the right, it's way softer and you lose so much of the detail. Like, you start seeing less of, like, you know, certain parts of Spider-Man's body there. You can't really tell where the light's hitting him the strongest. And it doesn't look like it's made of fabric as much anymore. Like, it looks almost like plasticky, I feel like. And then the puddles and stuff just speak for themselves. Like, obviously, it looks like they kept the same, like, the tubes, the boxes and stuff in the background. The amount of NPCs are the same and how the NPCs are the same too. But look at the lighting, how the stark difference in the lighting from the left to the right. Like, look at where the 3 thugs are standing, how hard the light's hitting over there, versus all of a sudden it just almost blends into like 2 different shades on the right, and the big lack of puddles with reflections, which, yes, Insomniac, haha, so funny, you guys added puddle stickers. But also look at the puddles, the difference in the puddles from the left to the right too. While yes, there's less of them, the reflections are also way worse. On the left, it actually looks like it's reflecting like what's present in the environment, versus on the right, it almost looks like it's reflecting sky with nothing else.
Well, I'll also tell you what I see. Like here, if you look at the background, like trying to see behind the objects, that's kind of blurred out by white, almost like fully exposed, versus the right, where I can see the background and start seeing the trees in the back and seeing further out into the world. So that's yeah, true I can see there's not only a change in lighting, not over in the ambience, but also the background, but also there's more rendered on the right.
That's true too. But to be fair, because we had this conversation yesterday, on the left when it's really sunny and it's like it's midday, it could get that intense where you might not be able to see like that far out. Now, whether they just wanted to do that to like preserve graphics for the presentation or whatever, sure. To me, this already kind of seems like a downgrade. I don't know if you guys disagree or not. I mean, especially wait, hold on, let's see. Especially when they're at the helicopter pickups. Oh, I guess.
Oh yeah, let's keep going on the video. Let's keep going on the video because this is just one section. I mean,
on the right, obviously, it looks a lot more saturated. They went with like warmer colors, but again, like even the lighting on just the model on the models. On the left, the guy looks like he's actually sweaty. You can see the shine off of like because he looks like I have to put on my.
Well, yeah, look, see, here now I'm seeing the opposite effect, right? Where now on the right, the light's looking more like how it was on the left a couple seconds ago, but now the left, like I can see more of the rendered background.
Yeah, but it's a lot more, right. Even though the left still looks blown out because of the sunlight, it has a shadow on the building, and on top of that, it has detail. On the right, all that shit's missing. Obviously, the background changed there too. Now there's like less boxes and stuff.
No, there's more boxes on the right.
Oh yeah, there's more. Yeah, in the future version, there was more boxes and stuff. Maybe they did that to cover the buildings a little bit better as well.
Much of a beard.
Yeah, he like shaved down his beard and all that, but he looks less of a human on the right. Like his skin doesn't look as real. He's missing a bunch of wrinkles. He looks like he's almost balding on the left. Like he looks still kind of balding on the right too, but not as realistic and stuff. Clear downgrade. I don't know what Insomniac's trying to say. Yeah, we changed artistic direction. More like you guys downgraded the graphics, and there's nothing wrong with it because the game's still fine, but it's to me it's still considerable. And I still got an amazing product, so don't get me wrong. But Jelly Bean, give me a second. I think we need to get him. No, there you go. I just Jelly Bean. Message. Jelly Bean.
Oh, we're sorry about this, guys. All right. Well, anyways, going on to what it's saying, like as you can see here on the left, like Mike was trying to say, like you can see the lighting like shining on his suit, towards his like the top portion of his dome. Like you can literally see the light reflecting there, and then on his back you can see the light shining on it and casting the shadow. Versus on the right, where the light is not as like it doesn't have as much exposure, it doesn't hit as hard. You can't see the shine anymore on top of his head. Although I do feel like color. Well, why does it just? Maybe is it because I'm sitting on the. Yeah. So I was saying like the colors look a bit more saturated on the right as well. It just looks weird for me on the side because this TV, like when you sit on the side, it just looks kind of.
It doesn't look like as much as fabric. I don't know. It just looks way worse. The shadow, like the shadow on his face here on the left where he's not being as well lit is obviously way less dramatic than the one on the right. Like constantly I keep seeing downgrades where instead of looking like you're being lit by the sun, it's a bunch of soft boxes now. And it looks like he's in a room rather than like a building in the city, you know? Like and the reflections obviously on the eye, they're completely gone. It just turned into a completely different material. So it's just weird to me. It's all stuff that made the game look prettier that's just gone now. I think Insomniac would have a hard time saying that they didn't make the game look worse.
Yeah, I mean, they probably just hit a button and well, I don't know if they can even do that. They would probably hit a button just to like, it kind of like how on PC you have the ability to like lower foliage and this and that, kind of get the game to have the proper frame rate.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much what happened as well. Or they probably just like toned it down a little bit so they can keep majority of what they had pictured in mind still in the game. And that's what I'm trying to say for Horizon, right? Well, they'll do like small touches to maybe bring it down a notch so they can keep the game looking as best as it can, close to the representation that they did originally. But that's what I want at the most, right? I don't want the Cyberpunk case where like it's like they completely promise you one thing and they go in the completely opposite direction.
Yeah.
Which we'll also look at next. We're gonna look at Cyberpunk and we're gonna see the Kroby Cap video so you can see like all the differences they did in a hilarious fashion because that's how he did it. You know, he was making as it almost. He was proving a point, but it's just funny.
The thing about the Kroby Cat video is that we're gonna need sound though, so I guess I should actually play it.
Yeah,
because he's gonna talk. The people are gonna talk, and that's a big point to what he was doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, look, it's more dusty on the left and stuff too. You see more shadows. The textures are better. Look at the textures of the building. Like Insomniac can't sit here and just be like, puddle stickers, guys. Like that's not really all they did. You know, like let's be honest. We have to be honest. You guys downgraded it. It's whatever. Like, we get it. Everyone else does it. But don't sit here and lie to us either saying that you guys didn't do anything. That's a bunch of bullcrap because, I mean, you're just lying to our face at that point. And what we were talking about it yesterday was Jordan was saying he doesn't care that much because I still got a great product or whatever. But to me, I'm trying to say, like, from a moral standpoint, I'm not saying about a great product or whatever. Yeah, Spider-Man was a great game. I got a great game. I'm not going to complain about that. But from a moral standpoint, if Jordan, as my friend, made a small lie to me and it wasn't for my benefit at all, for whatever reason, I'm going to get upset at him, regardless of whether that lie was a big lie or a small lie. So, you know, I'm glad that I got Spider-Man. It was worth its price. I think it was a phenomenal game. But if it's a great game already, why not just show us what you actually intend to make it look like, instead of like making it look better and then like lessening it or making it look worse afterwards, you know? Like, it just kind of bugs me.
It's funny that you're mentioning that, because the guy's saying he prefers the final product in this case. But anyways, the thing is that I'm of the mentality where, in the same way how I was saying earlier, like, you know, you can't hold an indie like a candle to an indie company in the same way you do, like, you know, like Naughty Dogs and the God, like the Santa Monicas of the world, is because in the same way as this, it's like I can't blame these people to the same level as I do like CD Projekt Red and what they did, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, if you want me to punish Insomniac, I'll be like, hey, Insomniac, here's a tap on the wrist. Don't downgrade your details next time. Great. And they're gonna be like, great, Jordan, thanks for the advice. I'll fucking take it into consideration while I'm counting all my money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Versus like something like Cyberpunk, where it's like, hey, you legit stole my money and you promised me something that didn't exist in the game. Like, what the fuck?
Well, to be fair, Cyberpunk, they gave all the refunds that were necessary that people wanted, and also they're having like 3 different lawsuits mounted against them, which turned into like a super one. So they are facing consequences for the decisions that CD Projekt Red took. But I don't necessarily know if I'm saying that Insomniac should get punished for something like this, but I definitely think there should be rules in place to prevent it from going on anymore, because there's no reason for them to be able to make a product look better than what you're actually going to get at the end.
What you're most upset about is the fact that they came out and said, no, we didn't downgrade it.
Yeah, they doubled down on it, which makes it even worse. Like, just say yes. Yes, we did. Sorry. And that's it. Don't sit here and try to act like you're smart, because we have eyes. Like,
the thing
people
is that,
record this stuff.
The thing is that there's a known fact that the left is obviously the dev kit, which the dev kit always has a little bit more GPU power for them to develop the game. I have no idea why they would do that. They should honestly have it at the same level so that, you know, it translates well to the final product. But maybe there's something I don't know as a programmer as to why, you know, the dev kit's always a little bit more OP than the other one. Maybe it's to hold the dev build. But
here, I mean, this is like going to be a commentary on a larger scale, but I just think that like the video game development space in general is just becoming a place of just absolute shade, just in terms of like how workers are treated, you know, workers' rights abuse. I mean, obviously there's some changes here to the HUD and the map and stuff, which I don't really care about stuff like that. But all the time you have games like, you know, Destiny and what was that? The other one, the one that actually failed, that tried to copy Destiny on Xbox, the one that you fly around and all that. What was that one called again? I forget. They mentioned it earlier. The guys in the chat mentioned it a little bit ago, alongside the Division. Oh. It starts with an A.
Anthem. That was also on PlayStation a little bit.
You know, it came to light that when they were developing Anthem, that they brought in they actually had a spectacular game, and they hired people specifically to look at what they could cut out of the game to make it a minimally viable product.
They were trying to cut it out, but because they didn't have a complete idea as to what they wanted to do in the first place, what they were cutting out they were basically cutting out potential ideas rather than ideas.
No, but I heard that they at least had a solid
they
game.
Have a team. They have EA does that for all their games.
Yeah. And then they had a team come in, look at it, and be like, "This could all be DLC," and then just strip the game to like its bare possible state.
Specifically with Anthem, because they didn't have an idea as to what they wanted for the final product, the ideas that they started stripping away were on paper. They weren't even complete ideas. So of course the game even went further into downhill.
Yeah, crap Mo got it. It was Anthem. So whatever. Like he's also saying rules are definitely needed. I think this stuff needs to be regulated, because there's no way in hell that you could have all these regulations for other products and services, and then video games just get to do whatever the hell they want. No way, Jose. You know, like, just no way. Like, I hate that stuff all the time. Like, for example, and I brought this example up yesterday. I'm a big Godzilla fan, and I love the first new Godzilla movie, the American one that we got in like 2015, 2016. But I wasn't a big fan of the fact that they touted Bryan Cranston right after being so hot off of Breaking Bad, and he put him all throughout the trailer, and then they took him out after like the first 5 minutes of the movie. You know,
it's kind of the same way as like Last of Us, or like they and again, spoiler warnings for Last of Us Part 2, where they touted Joel for like 2 hours or like the whole game, and then, you know, Joel just, you know, they cut him out of the game really fast.
That's different, because that's not like tangible.
But what I wanted to say is that one thing about the things that people don't know about the stuff on the PS4 and also the PS5 and the Xbox and all, the way that games are made for consoles, and the reason why they're made the way that they are for consoles, because obviously, PS5 and Xbox is actually, they're actually good now, but the PS4 and all that stuff compared to PC, it wasn't even measurable, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the way that they did it to make the games look almost as good as something you can get on PC is by doing data streaming. And what that means is that the PS4 will automatically remove details in real time when necessary.
Look, it's also mentioning that there were some scripted things on the left that you couldn't do on the right. So another example of scripting.
But scripting is always a thing, right?
Yeah, but that doesn't mean it's.
But it's just scripting. But anyways, what I'm trying to say is that that the way that the consoles work is that they do data streaming, right? So it removes details when it needs to make the frame rate stick the landing, and it doesn't go down and lose its quality. And then in that case, right, what I'm trying to get with that is that in Horizon's case, or a game like this, or like E3 or whatever, maybe it did look like that at one point of the PS4, but then because the PS4 can handle the frame rate, it just automatically downgrades it to where it can. And the fact that it could still maintain its quality and fidelity on a console, to me, is still amazing.
I agree. But do you not have a problem with the fact that they add scripts that aren't planned to be in the game?
No, that's fine, because I don't want to know what's in the game. I want the scripts to happen so I don't know what happens in the final product, because if they ruin the story, it's kind of like what happened to me with Red Dead, where Sergio explained to me the entire ending and I was like, I'm done.
That's fun. That's fine. But think of it this way: when you played the when you look at trailer for a bunch of games, you usually see things
anymore.
Okay,
because of that.
I know there's been moments where you've looked at trailers for games and I've heard you say, wow, you could actually do this specific tiny thing in this game. I'm going to get it instantly. Right then and there, it showed Spider-Man do an instant acrobatic over a bridge down into immediately getting into combat, which the guy specified wasn't possible in the retail version.
Wait, what if someone... I'm sorry?
There was a part where he went up onto the bridge and then immediately slingshotted down to fight an enemy. But on the retail version, that wasn't possible in that exact same scene. So
go back. I want to see.
That's something right there that
I want to see what he did. That
could have hooked someone. They could have hooked someone, and all of a sudden that's gone.
Right, but that's what I'm trying to say. I want to see what it is, because, I mean, to what extent? I mean, I looked at this demo and I forgot about it like 2 days later, and I still felt like I got what I was promised.
It said something. Hold on, wait for it.
Oh, now I know what he's saying. No, it's just what he's saying is that the thing, the reticle that lets you zip to, it didn't reach as high up to that beam as it did in the demo.
Oh, whatever. That's probably a minor thing, but
no, but that's what he was saying. Like the reticle that lets you pick to do the zip hook thing and throw yourself into it. In that final product, they removed the programming for it to reach as high as it did. I mean, personally, I mean, you can ding them for that, but I personally think maybe they dropped it because they felt it was too OP for you to go that far out with the thing, and obviously they got to keep some form of balance, because now you can just be like, let me just zip to the other side of the city and avoid all this crap, and then come back. Like they have to find a balance within the game so that with combat wise, because look at the freeform combat of Spider-Man. Like, you could do so many crazy things, jump up in the sky, zip line across the map.
But that's not what the conversation is about. We're not talking about how amazing the game is. We're talking about
no. I'm saying like
downgrading from what was originally.
They gotta find you a way to keep you in. So I mean, if they want to drop down the height of it, I wouldn't say that's a downgrade. I would just say that's just a gameplay design change.
Well, yeah, but I don't know. All
right, let's get to the next game, Cyberpunk, because they wanted to see Cyberpunk. Yeah. No, I agree with you. And now when you look at Cyberpunk, you're gonna be like, oh no. What? Why don't you just put your own video? I mean, you did the same. You kind of, well, no, because we want to see the comparison with E3. Never mind. Crowdpunk. That's what it was called. There you go. Whatever. Close enough. There you go. All right. So you said you're gonna put audio. Yeah, no, just put it for them. I'll be able to raise it from here.
You can't. It's going through the system. I mean,
read the subtitles to them. Oh no, yeah, no, of course. You gotta put capture desktop.
This is gonna be
Oh, but you know what you could do for audio? If you go on the master control, go to master control. Go to master control. Switch the audio thing from GoLXLR to HDMI. Really? That's kind of weird. They should just pick up what's going, because we're all USB. We're not going through the GoLXLR. We're not in the GoLXLR, you know?
Project.
No, that's gonna ruin it. That's kind of weird that you don't have the option there to switch to HDMI. All right.
You could do is get the headphones. You want to use the headphones.
They were going
No,
on
there's
and
only
on
one.
about
All
how
right.
they'd create
So anyway, so here right now we're gonna see like this is gonna be like oh, it's not gonna be a direct comparison in the same fashion as the video we saw before. This is
But it's the
making a
most
compilation.
compelling. It's literally show, don't tell, showing all the stuff that was promised and then wasn't.
Exactly.
And I'm not saying that there's nothing redeemable at Cyberpunk. Obviously, if you guys enjoyed the narrative, you guys enjoyed the narrative. I'm not going to ding you guys for that. And they probably did do a great job at that. We're just showing you guys this video so you can see stuff that they outright promised versus what they actually gave. And then you guys can formulate your own opinion afterwards.
Next level.
Exactly. And
It's kind of a long watch, so I probably we won't watch the whole thing, but you guys can see like part of it.
We've actually had this conversation before where we talked about more in depth as to like how we feel about Cyberpunk emotionally and all that. I mean, I at first defended it without knowing what was going on, until then I realized, oh, okay, wait, this is what they did. This is kind of a little wrong. But if you actually go back to all our episodes are on YouTube. If you go to on youtube.com/Co-Op Syndicate, that's how it is, right? Or,
No,
I mean,
we don't have our own link yet. We don't have our own link
Okay,
yet.
so
You guys just in the search bar just look up the Co-Op Syndicate.
yeah, and you'll find our channel for YouTube. Then you can go, I think it was like episode 5 where we did the big talk about all the flops of last year and all that, and we brought up Cyberpunk to an extent. And then like every episode after that, we literally talked about how bad Cyberpunk was for like a whole month. Now granted the game is good, but it has a lot of things that, you know, they failed to deliver on not only their promises, and of course the hype that people built it up on took it to a new level that it kind of ruined it, right?
We have our official video review
So
coming.
we're gonna see that as we keep going. Like right now they're just showing all the he's showing Robycat is showing all the promises that was done, like all the things they showcased, the way that they deliver things, and now he's gonna compare
The
it to
volume's pretty loud for them, so I don't know if you want to keep like, because it's competing with us. You could just let them watch the video too for a little bit or whatever.
Okay,
you
yeah,
want to
that's fine. Well, I mean, the thing is that this is gonna go straight to the podcast.
I mean, if you want, I could take off the volume, but you told me to put it, so make up your mind. You either take it off or leave it.
No, lower it a little bit, and like have it be ambience, like background.
We're still beating it, but not by much. That's what I'm telling you. Like if you talk over it, they're not gonna hear it. Like it's gonna be fuddled.
I mean, this is gonna go to Buzzsprout later, so for the person who hears it by audio, they shouldn't have to hear us competing, you know. But anyways, this is what you're seeing now on the final product, like, or at least this is what it was before they did all the billions of patches.
Yeah. And so a lot of this stuff could have gotten fixed already, but just so you guys can see where I'm coming from, this is what like I went through when I had to play the game as well, and even worse because
those prefab blocks are missing textures, like they legit didn't program them in.
Yeah, and through right now he's not talking about it, I think, but he starts showing examples of how all the cars were the same thing or whatever. But they also started talking about how there was going to be like a bunch of different that's pretty funny how the person just cleared the boxes or whatever. Eventually it does start showing things that they said, oh yeah, like the branching storyline, you're going to be able to make all these different choices.
Yeah, this is
and
the 48-minute walkthrough demo that they did, where they're saying, oh, it's going to be dense, believable city, it's going to have all these expansive activities, this and that. This is when they were making the promise.
Yeah.
All living their lives
right
within a full day and night cycle.
And then this is the final product.
Or maybe.
Oh no. No, bro. Stop.
Anything you want to get off your chest about the game that you're excited to tell us?
We put so much.
Yeah.
The guy
so look, now the guy's going up the stairs. That wasn't
the popping of the stairs, that was pretty funny.
Yeah, the stairs is just too much. The fact, look at that, a car that just randomly
Yo,
combusts.
the mafia was trying to get rid of that guy.
Yeah, dude, that NPC was hated on.
The universal compliment that I'm seeing is that
So you see, this is the
overall,
sort of stuff I'm saying. Like they paid people to review the game. They said they couldn't show their own gameplay. That's a lie, which
This is
obviously I'm
5
not on
months
board with
before
that
launch.
shit.
5 months before launch, they people made a hands-on like gameplay impression, and they were all blown away because they let people actually play the game.
Obviously, this is just picking apart bugs and animations
Yeah,
and
look
stuff.
at that.
If you guys don't care about that, then you're not gonna care about the fucking teleporting
This
crowd
reminds
is
me,
pretty funny.
this reminds me of back in the day when Fallout 3 and New Vegas and all came out, and they were all broken, and your save file would like delete itself and crap, and or it would get corrupted. Like this reminds me of those old PS3 days when you had to suffer through a game that was glitched just to play something that was worthwhile. But that shouldn't be the case in 2020. Especially with a team that's investing so much money in a game like it should.
Yeah, they released PC reviews of the game before it came out. Yeah, like stuff like that. Like you guys already got an impression of what I feel like about marketing that just isn't honest. And even games that were like, in my opinion, amazing, like Spider-Man kind of did it to a certain degree. God of War slightly, even a little bit. I don't know. Obviously, marketing doesn't tend to be the most honest thing for any product. And then just stuff like this, obviously it was super buggy and broken on release. But if you guys, I don't know how far you guys want. Oh, look, the missing textures and the boxes. If you guys
It's funny not to keep watching. It's addicting to see like how messed up. I don't think we can show the whole video though for YouTube copyright, right? Or can we?
We could, because people react to stuff all the time, but I don't necessarily want to just sit here and watch this for 41 minutes. I want to show them the point. The throwing of the guy just, this shit always gets me.
Oh yeah, the fact
this
that the
I
arm
actually
is broken.
love. This I actually love.
The arms are broken. Yeah, if you look at your shadow, your arms are actually broken.
I love that shit though. You look like a turtle. That's actually something I love about it.
Oh man, that's funny.
Guys actually had experiences like this though. You played it on Xbox One, it wasn't like this. I'm telling you, dude. Like a lot of people told me,
it's not just Xbox. It's some people had this type of experience on PC. Some people had different experiences on PS4, like such as crashes like every 10 minutes. Like Michael, for example, had an hour per crash pretty much, or two crashes per hour.
Not even. It was multiple. Like once I got past the tutorial part, basically it started crashing pretty like frequently. Like I remember there was like a certain conversation I was trying to have with Jackie. And that shit.
Now he's comparing it to GTA 4.
Yeah, like that shit. Like there was a couple of times where I was trying to have a conversation with Jackie, and that shit it would just crash every single time. There was like a part where I had to get out of my apartment, go meet up with Jackie at like a bar or a restaurant or something, and it just kept fucking dying. And I was like, my God, can I progress, please? I'm trying to play.
Yeah.
Hello, yes, ma'am.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and then now he's comparing it to like older games like GTA and all that stuff.
I think he's done a good point of like demonstrating that obviously the AI and stuff was kind of dated compared to the game.
Just a regular cyberpunk game on the cyberpunk game. Imagine a rich and futuristic world with ultra modern
futuristic world.
The
Okay.
Godfather of cyberpunk.
Yeah, I think they're talking about it
technology
here.
and decadent.
He said that it just looked like GTA 5 with kind of 80s generic cyberpunk theme slapped over it.
Why did I move here? I guess it was the weather.
You see like the hair's floating and all that. Like
Yeah, but I'm trying to find I know that Kobe Cat included that they lied about some of the narrative stuff too. Like so far, we're just seeing jabs at like the more superficial stuff. Well, I mean, gameplay matters too, and it was kind of busted. But I want people to see that also. Like story wise, it was stripped out from a little bit more from what it could have been.
I think this is where he's showing the trailer, the story part.
Oh, here it is. So many
customizing
options and possibilities. Yeah.
With these contracts. And I think this is the part where he's also gonna show like, oh, you're gonna be able to go inside buildings and communicate with these NPCs and do all these crazy things. And then like in the actual game, when you try to go to those areas, they're all closed down. Like you can't see through the windows and stuff, and you can't enter the buildings.
I had a Jackie floating out of the car glitch when he died. That shit sounds funny. He was your ghost trying to follow you. Crap Mosh thanks the same. Yeah, so I mean a couple bugs here and there any game can have, and you'll forgive. In fact, you know, sometimes bugs to me even make a funnier experience. Like when I played Skyrim and that shit was kind of busted.
Oh no, but Spider-Man, when you literally fell to the floor and just
Oh yeah, Spider-Man where I glitched through the building, or when everyone turned into like jeans and shit. That, you know, like stuff like that's harmless.
I remember in Far Cry, Spider-Man Miles Morales, when it came out on PS5, there were people where like their character model swapped to like toilets and like world items, and you could literally just be a spider toilet or like a spider.
Oh look,
mailbox.
they were comparing there too. So you see, that was one of the examples right there. That was a person that you could have chose to finish off or spare, and in the presentation they said that shit was gonna have ripples throughout the rest of your story, but apparently no matter what you decide to do, that person's death or that person's survival does what the fuck, that person's death or survival doesn't
Cyberpunk 2077.
See, like look, you had all the options to go to these different areas, and they took them all out. I mean, like looking at the demo, it's like it's clear that they had a lot of passion and interest, and they wanted to do so much, but it escaped their expectations and what they could possibly do.
Which was probably the manager's fault. The manager's fault. No one's saying that the devs are ass or whatever, but obviously, like, you can't sell people on one idea and then give them something else. Now, if you still enjoyed the game as is, kudos to you. I had to get my refund because that shit didn't even work for me, and I was just hurt.
Yeah, I mean, the experience gets better per patch. You obviously didn't wait for the later patches, but still, it's, you know, the idea
I was worried
that
about not getting my money back either, because
your game should work day one.
I tried getting my money back day one, and they told me no. They straight up told me no. I didn't get my money back until everyone was literally asking for their money back, and then finally they had to issue all the refunds.
Yeah, which is why Cyberpunk got kicked off the PSN.
This is an RPG.
They just could.
So before we get into our appearance, we need to.
Well, I think they get the point. Is there anything else you want to show them from the video?
If we want, we can go to the next one, because now I want to look at Last of Us Part 2. I don't want to do God of War because I think that one's just kind of, it's like 2 years of a difference, and it's not really I still don't feel like it's very indicative of a downgrade. But Last of Us Part 2 downgrade's the last one we can look at, where you can kind of see like what I was talking about, where it's a bit more scripted, and that's how I feel about Horizon, where some of the scripts might not make it to the end, but that's but anyways, yeah, that's fine. That pretty much, that video right there, the one that we were looking at, pretty much makes our point that we were trying to say, where we were like, you know, there was a big fat lie with that game. We got a lot of promise, and despite the fact that you can find some enjoyment in the game, it doesn't make it right that they blatantly lied to us and gave us something that wasn't in the final product. This is something where, like, you may not see it for yourself, you may not feel it, but there's people like us who understand it and stand up for you, so you can, like you said, you enjoyed Cyberpunk. The day that we stand up for you and that next game comes out, it's going to be 10 times better, and you're going to enjoy it much more because of it. Now, I'm not saying that I'm trying to defend you specifically or anything. I'm just trying to say that, you know, it's about defending the right of, like, people, you know, buying a product when it's promised that it's going to work and then it doesn't.
The graphics look toned down from left to right.
Yeah, they're going to see there's a big tone down from like 2018 to 2020. They did a couple of changes there that clearly aren't in the final product. But comparing the changes are not, again, they're like Spider-Man. It's like you have to look for them, and you're not gonna see it obviously in the middle of like running around and having fun.
People
it's
notice, man. Like, I mean, Insomniac had to speak out for a reason because people complained. So people did look for.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that people didn't complain as much about Last of Us or God of War compared to Spider-Man. Like, Spider-Man was like the big one that people kind of felt hurt. But then it's like they realized, okay, it's not going to be the same. So here we can see in the same location, they already took out the water, or they made it a lot drier compared to the demo starters.
Which sucks.
They increased the foliage on retail for some reason.
Decreased or increased?
Increased. See, look, they increased foliage on retail. They increased foliage on retail and took out the water.
I'm not going to read that one out loud, but that comment was funny. If you want, you can see it yourself. I just wouldn't say about it. I wouldn't say anything on the recording. Don't say it out loud.
Yeah.
Don't get that on the recording.
I'm not gonna make a comment on that because.
Oh, there's a car missing for some reason here.
Yeah, no, they changed the whole level layout. I'm not gonna comment on that because I have my own opinions on that. But whatever, to each their own.
Oh damn! Why they blur out? Oh, I guess they're trying not to have violence there. Oh look, less fire and stuff. The fire doesn't look as impactful. Less the
there's less
settings
torches,
different.
There's less torches. Yeah, there's less characters wearing torches. But here's when you're gonna start seeing the real difference. You're gonna start seeing the fact that there's a little bit of detail change on the truck.
The lighting looks way worse.
The lighting is less potent. Yes, the fire over there is not in a canister. You can see it already. It's on the ground, whereas on the other one, it's in a barrel. But you can see here the potency of the fire on the left. It's creating like a white ambience next to it, whereas here on the right, it's just fire.
Less God rays. Here, the right actually looks slightly better. The retail version looks slightly better here, for whatever reason.
Well, see, now that's the big thing, right? Go back to the torch thing and pause it for a minute, because I wanted to ask your opinion on that. No, of course not. This is PS4. You going back a little more? There you go. Okay, go. That play, yeah. Okay, there, stop. Okay, now, see, this is the thing. That, to me, doesn't look right. To me, that looks more accurate to realism, where the fire it wouldn't emanate white like a bulb. It would just be fire.
It depends. On the left, there's fog. On the right, there isn't.
There's still fog there, just not as intense.
No, there's no fog on the right.
Look at the right. Look at the right. Look at all
like
that
in
fog.
the distance, but that's not how fog works. Like fog isn't something that just exists far out. Have you ever driven through fog? Like if you actually get in fog, you won't even see like depending on how thick it is, you might not even be able to see like 3 feet ahead of you. And so if it's very thick fog, like the one on the left, you'll actually see light passing through like the particles of the fog, and it'll create that look. It won't be just lighting the immediate
to me, it's just
vicinity
too
thing.
symmetrical. Like it looks like a light bulb. It doesn't look like fire. But whatever.
If you ever have to go through fog and you use high beams, your high beams, you'll see it come out like a beam and spread out as it goes.
Well,
you won't see it just
a bulb makes sense.
That's because it's fire, and on the tip of a torch is gonna come out from every angle. If it's on a bulb from your car, it can't flash in a circle because it has the parts of the car behind it, and it's designed to shine the light forward. If you were to get that bulb, take it out into your hand, now it's gonna light up in 360 like how the torch is. The problem is that for some reason there's only fog in the background there.
Days just for myself, because clearly I don't have enough experience in this.
Well, we could get like when Halloween comes around, they're gonna sell fog machines and stuff for the front yard.
Do
so
like a video on this. Like
I'll
how
show
does
you.
light work in the fog and stuff.
I can tell you the left is better than the right.
Well, I do see more foliage on the right though.
Well, probably actually.
All right, so you were saying the right looks better. I mean, look at the truck though. The truck looks less detailed, or maybe it looks dirtier on the right.
Texture wise and everything, I think the right probably looks a little bit worse. I don't know. The thing is, it doesn't have RTX, so maybe they just made that look more aesthetic, but maybe not realistic. That's the only thing I can say. Here the fire looks better on the left still.
The light's reaching out further. Yeah.
Yeah. And it has like a glare effect on the camera too, which I dig.
Are you sure that's not just the icon thing?
No, you see, okay, like. You're right.
Oh, okay. Yeah, see, the reason why I'm also doing this is also because I kind of want to see what people see. Because usually these type of things are like, they visually occlude my game.
And here's another thing I wanted to point out. I've noticed that on the right, all sources of fire don't have smoke. Fire doesn't work that way in real life. When you're burning something, there's a flame, and then whatever's getting burned is getting turned into carbon, and that carbon gets released in the form of ash and smoke. Why is there no smoke on the fire on the right? That's bad. Down. See? Which it would much like, you know how the house was getting filled with smoke today because someone was burning something upstairs?
Yeah.
That's what would happen in real life too. So you'd be like, oh, but I don't like fog. But if there's fire present, you'd have smoke. Oh, so this is the scripting?
That's some of the script.
Wow, that's a pretty big downgrade.
There's still smoke on the right, but the fire is not as potent.
Yeah.
Like there's less objects in the fire on the right.
This sort of stuff just makes me
I mean, but there's still cinematic stuff going on in the right. It's not like they just took out all of it. It's just that this is just QTE scripting versus the other one just being open and letting the.
I don't know if it's necessarily QTE. It's probably
I'm just
like
saying it's kind of like I'm making it. I'm saying it's akin to that. You know. where it's like it's heavily trapping you into a cutscene.
The camera angle and stuff isn't as impressive as it was on the left either. Like they nerfed that.
No, but that could just be the player pushing down, like, you know, down left in the
It's
screen.
less cinematic.
But that's the player too. That's the freedom of somebody playing. They push down the camera in the wrong direction, and you know. See, on the right though, now the floor looks dirtier, which makes me feel more like, you know, like it hasn't been cleaned as much and all that, which is how it should look like in a post-apocalyptic world, in my opinion. So that to me was a bit more like, I like it a bit more visually. See, like in a game, you would have gotten shot. You would have lost health, right? Obviously, this is scripted because they didn't lose any health while running, while people are literally aiming at her, you know?
I mean, these two are close enough where I'm still like, but it still stands that they clearly faked some stuff for the presentation, and they made some stuff worse. Which ultimately, I'm not saying here like, no, you guys can't play these games because they didn't deliver on their promise. I'm just saying it's a practice that should be regulated and probably stopped. You know, like in any way possible, you guys shouldn't be changing the game that much, especially as if it's to worsen the final product. You know,
right?
Look, the lighting on the left is destroying the one on the right here. And holy shit, that's night and day difference.
He missed the headshot and complained that it didn't look like the headshot.
Look at that, man. That doesn't even look close.
Right. You can see there's a massive change there on the NPC and the detail and all that for sure.
The skin looks worse. The lighting on the skin looks worse. I don't know. That's the point I'm trying to make. It's just, I'm against downgrades. Yeah, sure, whatever. The game still looks amazing in its final version, but you shouldn't have to lie. And you shouldn't be able to lie. You shouldn't be able to just get away with that, you know?
Yeah. Well, the big thing too is also that Sony's pushing the narrative now that play is unlimited, right? So now what they're saying is, this is what they could achieve with PS4. On PS5, they're basically unhinged. They're not bogged down by anything. They don't need to do compression files. They can just make the game how they see fit to the best that they can on their art, right?
Right.
To that extent, I mean, again, I understand where you're coming from, the downgrades. I am of the thing that it's like the punishment should be equal to the severity of the crime. In a case like Insomniac, here's a slap on the wrist.
Well, do you think they should be punished? Or do you think this should simply be a rule where you're not allowed to do it? Like, we're gonna review your game, we're gonna review your presentation, and if it's not the same thing,
I'm gonna just be like, look, just try better next time. That's it. The PS4 is clearly lacking. It's not, you know.
What if they're a repeat offender?
I mean, every time Insomniac put out a product, it's literally like.
Oh, they still keep lying in their presentations. Oh, don't they deserve to be punished somewhat for that?
They're not. I mean, they promised me I could be Spider-Man. They gave me the Spider-Man.
They also promised you the game will look the way it did in the presentation, and it clearly doesn't.
I'm not bothered.
I think they should
I'm a bigger guy on gameplay than I am on graphics. I've mentioned this since my childhood.
It's not a graphics thing though. It's a lie thing.
Right,
they lied to you.
I'm not. There's bigger battles to be had, in my opinion, right? There's companies that outright blatantly destroy your life or try to destroy your life by stealing your money and telling you that something's good or bad. And there's companies like them. It's like, hey, you know, we couldn't achieve that because PS4 couldn't handle it. It's like, okay, just a slap on the wrist, keep going, just try better next time, right? And now with PS5, there really shouldn't be an excuse. So at this point, you know, at least with a PS4, I can understand concessions have to be made. Anything that's a concept, you know, even concept vehicles are made, and then, you know, there's obviously concessions towards the final product. It never looks the same. They always design this futuristic looking car, and then it doesn't look the same way.
In the case of infidelity, if your partner you caught someone texting them, or you fully caught them, you know, like just doing someone else. I mean, those are two pretty drastically different things. Let me explain to
you my perspective, right? It's like Sony releasing to me Snow White PS5, but in the box I receive a Pearl White. I'm gonna be like, great, thanks. It's Pearl White. Next time, just give me, you know, Snow White.
But
and then I'm just gonna play the PS5 anyways and not. But
here's the thing, though.
But if the PS5 gives it to me and then they give me, you know, they tell me that the PS5 is gonna look like a router, and then I get a rectangle, I'm gonna be like, what the F is this, right? But the problem is like from final product to E3, to me, it's almost equivalent to like, okay, I didn't get the same color shading on my final product.
But it's not just a thing of shading; it's a term of just quality. Like you literally get lighting from being hyper realistic to not
lighting quality. may not be there, but the entirety of the
Reflections.
game's quality is there.
The graphical density, like the way that the environment looks, you know, like that stuff matters to you. Like if you're gonna, let's put it this way too. If they make the presentation to look a certain way, you're not gonna present something looking bad. You're gonna try your hardest to make it look good. So they're objectively making it look that way for a reason. They're trying to make something that looks amazing. Why are they going to give you something that objectively looks worse afterwards on a product, especially when they were promising that you're going to get something that looks as amazing as this? Now, there's some things, sure, that you could chalk up to just changing due to the fact that like it suited narratives, like the whole thing with God of War when Kratos was revealed in the trailer. Obviously, it was like the whole thing like, oh, yeah, let's go. And then he just walks out of the shadows like, yes, boy, and whatever. Then all of a sudden that didn't suit it anymore because they wanted to do the start menu where Kratos was chopping down the tree. Then he walks into the thing, and then he looked all like menacing and threatening from Atreus' point of view as he walked in.
That tree was very important, but I understand what you're saying.
It still looks better.
Level design change, I'm not going to complain. Level designs and demos and scripted demos are all made to get across the point of whatever message they want to put. Now, graphical thing, I guess you can have the conversation there a bit more. Because obviously it's true that they present to you something that's clearly dressed up to get you to be convinced that it's a product the way it is. Of course, the downgrade.
And like, let's say in the case of Spider-Man, if it's gonna be released for PS4, don't show something that's not on a PS4. If like it only runs like that on a dev kit on a computer, that's akin to just showing the good Cyberpunk gameplay on like a top-notch PC. Compared to like what you would get on a PS4, then you can't release the product on PS4 if it's not going to run.
All I know is compared to other companies, Sony actually allows the developers and stuff, I mean the reviewers and all that, and critics to usually review their games 3 days beforehand, so you know what you're getting in the final product before you buy anyways. So that is something I do like. They're not openly hiding things as much as other companies, at least. And
they're not doing anything that's like straight up robbing your money.
The Ratchet and Clank game when it's coming out on a Friday, but I get the review on Tuesday, so I have 3 days to decide whether the product is worth it, whether they lied to me or not. And personally, I don't think I'm gonna have a problem because I've liked every single Ratchet and Clank game I've touched so far. Even to the point where like I found the game that I was telling you that it was being appraised like $70-$60. I found some dude that put it at 50. I got eBay sent me a $10 coupon and I got the game at 40. So I was very happy about that, and I finally have the game that I wanted. But every single Ratchet and Clank game I got, and even if this new Ratchet and Clank game, the graphics that we've seen, and we can, you know what, if you even want to bring it in, we can compare E3 last year to E3 this year, presentation to this year, like last month.
Mm-hmm.
And even I don't know, I want to see your opinion on it, because you were saying, I don't know, there's some weird lighting things that I feel like this new version doesn't look as good than Ratchet and Clank, the new one.
Yeah, but the problem, I don't want to do that yet because I noticed that when they were comparing the two of them, that they were mostly different scenes, so I don't feel as comfortable jumping into that yet.
No, it's the same demo.
The same demo?
Yeah, look it up. Let's look it up now, so we can have this like the final point of our comment or whatever conversation. Call it a day. So Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. Rift Apart comparison. Deal. Yeah, comparison. 3 to. Yeah, there you go. 2021 versus 2020.
I don't want to do something. And I want to see actual same thing. You see, that's not the same thing already. That's not the same thing already. I can't tell you.
Well, we can look it up. I know that there was like they redid the demo again in a trailer, and then they did a comparison, and we still were in like massive disagreement as to like what was considered. Well, I don't think we were massive. I don't think we talked about it too much, but I guess we can do it off podcast so we can become more informed for next time. Point is, no, I think here he's just comparing Ratchet and Clank.
I know. Okay, I don't think that.
I'll look it up. I'm pretty sure it exists, but I'll look it up. But the point is that I don't want to kill them, right? Because it's just it to me. It's just I'm gonna just give them a slap on the wrist. Like they gave me close to the product. They didn't go far off to the side.
How you keep like letting like
to the
if you're gonna make a great product, just show the product. Don't show me something else. Show me the
I get
product.
your point. You're right, but I'm not gonna kill them for that.
Why? Okay, but why are you okay with them faking it then?
I'm not okay with them faking it. I'm just saying I'm not gonna punish them to the same severity as I would another company.
How do you get them to stop doing that then if you don't punish them though?
And just don't buy their game, dude. If you don't like what their practices are, just don't buy them.
Yeah, but
you're not gonna stop them. If you buy them, you're saying you openly accept it. It's just unfortunate.
I'm not saying that they're. Here's the thing, though.
In the form of commerce, that's just how it is.
But that's not though. There's laws against false advertising because you can't. There's no way for you to ascertain.
People have not found it to be of a false advertising. They've openly ranked on him publicly, but no one has taken him to court because they don't feel like that inherently in the same way that they did with Cyberpunk.
They spat like the Cyberpunk thing was an investor issue, but regardless,
it was more than that.
People found the spit in the face to be so severe that they took them to court, and eventually,
but they didn't do it for God of War. People wanting to take Ghost of Tsushima.
Okay, I don't know if Ghost of Tsushima nerfed or not.
We did that like a month ago.
The point is that if the lawsuit for Cyberpunk goes through, I feel like a lot of people are going to feel more and more entitled to suing video game companies for false advertisement. So ultimately, if other companies get sued, I'm going to say that they kind of deserved it because of the fact that they just lied in their presentations. Like, you know, and maybe they could get off scot-free because they put, oh, it's subject to change or whatever, but I can't, like, if I'm gonna sell something, I can't show you a Ferrari, and then when you get it, it's
look,
you know,
at the end of the day,
it's a lemon that's painted red.
My one comment on the situation is, if you're gonna take that to heart, then just whenever they do the reviews, look up all the gameplay, review it, and all the content you have before you make the final purchase.
Yep.
At the end of the day, they said this on many different podcasts. They've said this on IGN. They said this everywhere. This is not 1990s. You don't have to look at the cover art in the middle of a game store and decide whether you want to whether you think that game is gonna. You have the ability to go on YouTube, watch walkthroughs, gameplay, trailers. If you like the game, just buy it. If you don't, you don't agree with their practices and don't support it. That's all it is.
Yeah, I guess if it's if the graphics are bad enough or worse enough compared to the presentation, that's a deal breaker for you. I know that, for example, for me, obviously, Division was one that I was like, no, thank you. And I got that game at like $10. They didn't earn my full 60 or whatever.
I think it was Crap Mode was saying that he liked Cyberpunk. Right? I think what he was trying to say is like, oh, I don't understand why people are hating it so much because I had such an enjoyable experience.
He said that nobody can complain about the story. That what they complained about was bugs, glitches.
But what I'm trying to say is that he found it fun, and then ultimately that's what I was trying to say earlier when we were having the stupid indie comment or conversation, whatever. Where basically I was trying to say, I need to separate myself from experience, right? Again, I can bring this up today if you want to bring up the Returnal thing too. That game to me is a 10 out of 10. But if I were to look at it through the critic's eye, siphoning, like a camera, like grabbing a camera, zooming in and looking at all the details, that game's a 9 out of 10, not a 10 out of 10. Critically.
All right, but that's not.
But to me, it's a 10
That's not time. That's not has nothing to do with the conversation we're having here.
I'm trying to say
we're talking about false advertising.
No.
Returnal didn't advertise anything false.
I'm just trying to say we got to separate experience from that because of situations like this. It has to do with the conversation because I'm trying to say we have to separate it due to this type of situation. Because if he comes in and he says, "Well, I think Cyberpunk was great," and he just gives all his money to Cyberpunk, then they're literally showing the company that they're okay with releasing trash. That's relevant to what
I'm saying, though, because then Spider-Man should still, Insomniac should still get punished for lying on their presentation, regardless of the fact that they delivered a great product.
I agree. All I'm saying is that people need to separate their experience from looking through a critic's eye. That's all. That's all I'm trying to say.
I'm not even saying like critically. I'm just saying the fact that in marketing, you're allowed to present something that isn't the final product is a problem in and of itself.
No, I agree.
Because it's a breeding environment.
I'm just a person who, what I'm saying is, I believe in matching the severity of the crime to the punishment. And I'm not going to hold Insomniac's slight downgrade to Cyberpunk's caliber. That's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I'm not going to punish him in the same way.
Yeah,
if you lie, wrong, again, slap on the wrist, do better next time. I think they will.
If you lie about narratives, gameplay mechanics and all that, and maybe you could say that Last of Us Part 2 lied on gameplay mechanics a little bit because it wasn't as cinematic or as interactive as they made it look like in the thing. That's the thing. It's so hard to draw a line. I just feel like any lying has to be punished, period. You either show what it's gonna be or don't show anything at all. That's just what it should be, in my opinion.
And then that's what I was trying to say too, right? Whereas you see in Last of Us Part 2 how much attention to the demo through the demo they put towards animations and getting things across and making all that cinematic. They've forcibly worked on making that animation quality work versus Horizon, where they didn't. Like you can see the hair clipping, you can see like literal like textures popping in and stuff. Like,
right, but Naughty Dog has done nothing but make pretty great games. So in your definition of things, you wouldn't punish them either. You can't just say it's kind of like saying
I'm not saying I don't punish him. I'm just saying to them,
it can't just be a slap on the wrist. Like imagine if you find
in comparison to Cyberpunk.
But no, I disagree. Because imagine if like your star student, you find him cheating for the first time on a test.
Yeah,
like,
hey,
you can't just be like, oh no, forget it.
What happened? Oh, I don't know. My parents are fighting at home. I didn't get to study because something happened. My dog died. This and that. Hey, look, understandable. Just try not to cheat next time.
Not everyone in Insomniac.
You have a good record. Just don't do it next.
That's an individual though. You know what? You're not gonna go to Insomniac and be like, hey yo, all your parents died, all your dogs died. Oh, you guys decided to change up the game from the demo because all your dogs. That's not gonna happen. I mean,
it's just
ultimately the corporation looked at it and said,
the first time we've ever seen Insomniac do something like.
They should still be held. It's the first time CDPR got into hot shit too.
No,
they're getting legally punished.
They got into hot shit because they're bigger now. But Witcher 3 came out like that too. I had the entire island of. I think the lower island in the third area was completely broken for me for like 5 months.
And to be fair, this is something like dishonesty in game development isn't even something that only affects big studios. There's also people in indies who are like, yeah, bro, I'm gonna make this game, support me, and then they just disappear with all the pledges afterwards. So. There needs to be more law that goes into game development. Period.
I agree that there needs to be more. I agree that there needs to be more regulation as well.
Exactly, and making a presentation that looks better than the actual game is something that should be punished. Right. I don't care if the game has the company has a good track record or a bad one. Dishonesty is dishonesty.
I'm just saying the punishment should be matched by the severity of the crime. That's all I'm saying.
I agree.
It's just a sociological.
I don't think in my point, it's not a slap on the wrist.
If my star student decides to cheat once, I'm gonna just be like, hey, what happened? He's probably gonna give me a good excuse.
But in my opinion, that's not a slap on the wrist, though. I don't know in your mind how that's a slap on the wrist because outright false advertisement. It's not a mistake. You don't go, oops, I removed the God rays, I removed the puddles. You have to like go and program it like to be lesser. Like, you don't just accidentally take that out. You don't go, whoops, I hit the delete key and all of a sudden it's just gone. I can't get it back. My bad, guys. They actively sat there, they looked at the game, and they said, you know what? Let's make it look worse.
Look, dude.
And then they don't tell you about it. They don't say, oh, here's an update. Watch it.
Whatever. I still don't want to punish them the same severity as...
No one's saying that. You're just saying, oh no, we're gonna tell you, and that's it.
When you say punish, you say it as a blanket statement overall. I'm not
saying they need to be hit with like three like a class action lawsuit, but there should either be open to having to give refunds. There has to be some sort of thing that's actually a consequence. It's not just bad, because that doesn't do anything. If you're a scumbag who likes lying to people, me telling you bad is not gonna stop you. Like, that's not going to stop you. You're just going to be like, hey, thank you. My next presentation is going to be a lie, and you're going to buy as many copies as you did last time because you guys didn't stop me this time anyway.
All that guy was saying.
And there's
statutes. Morales, they didn't find any downgrades in Miles Morales. So
because the presentation was not as big. But if they do the same thing again for Spider-Man 2,
dude. Huh? It was literally a 7-minute demo in the same way.
Well, they just showed the actual gameplay, which is fine. But you see, there's no need for it, and it was better. And I hope they don't do the same thing for Spider-Man 2. Because then I don't want to hear them say, oh no, but the puzzles, artistic direction. Like, at that point, they're just lying to your face. And they did lie, and they doubled down on it, which is just shameful. I
mean, they even did like a whole like, oh, we're gonna see if we can find a way to find out what the problem is. Because I don't know. I'm not gonna get into it. Like I said, I really don't care. I'm not bothered by it. I'm bothered by what Cyberpunk did. I'm not bothered by what they did. There's bigger battles to be had. People like Bethesda lying to us flat out with Fallout 7, whatever. But the fact that all their games come out broken,
games as a service and stuff like that, and all that, that's a separate conversation.
There's just bigger problems to be had.
In the scales of morality,
and there's a bigger.
No, man. In the scales of morality, false advertisement has a place to be argued against too. I'm not gonna sit here and say, okay, like bugs and glitches, yes, is a problem, and then false advertisement, no. Like, sell me what you're presenting me. Otherwise, don't sell me anything at all.
Saying that personally, like I said, I'm just indifferent about it. It depends to me about the severity. Like, me, it's not. I'm not bothered by that big fight because I'm still bothered by the other bigger. That's what I'm trying to say. There's bigger battles we have to go one at a time, and right now there's more severe problems that need to be had, such as the microtransaction problems, gacha problems. There's bigger problems that we have to focus on first. We can't just spread our money thin everywhere because then we never get across.
I feel like the thing is too is that this one's such an easy one to fix. Because in the other cases, you're telling people, no, you need to make a good product, which that in and of itself is hard, but that's that's what they have to do, of course. If they're going to charge someone $60, you have to make a good game. But this is literally telling people, just don't lie. Just show us what you're going to make.
Yeah, but that's what I'm trying to say. See, like, you're demanding truth from a company is not the same as you demanding non-malpractice like issues from another company. It's two different. You're asking one company to just be more honest, and you're asking the other one to completely change their entire business design. You see what I'm saying?
That's
There's
the one.
severity.
You making them make a better game is making them change their whole design. I'm literally tell you, yo, you know that one fight that you did there with Spider-Man? You know how you don't plan on making it look like that in the final cut? Just don't spruce it up. Let's just leave it looking how we actually plan to release it. That's a lot less tall of an order than, yo, your whole game sucks. You need to give me a good game or you guys like just fail.
It's just, I understand where you're coming from graphic-wise, but just, I don't agree with the gameplay stuff because many things are
you don't think that it's kind of a scumbag thing that they go in and they script like fights that can't actually happen in the game, and then that stuff's not there, and you're like, oh wow, I really wanted to see those things happen, and it's just kind of not there. That's messed up.
Not really, because the player agency is more important than scripted fights. So the more that your game allows you to interact with it, the better the game is.
That's
it's
fine, but
already
they
known
sold
for a
you.
fact that
They
every time they
sold you
do stuff like E3 and they script you the fights, the games are less enjoyed and less played.
They sold you on that it was going to be scripted. So if someone bought it based off their presentation, they're going to be expecting to get this, and
look,
now it's not there.
It's just truth, right? The Order 1886 was a heavily scripted game, and it was one of the most hated PlayStation exclusives of all time because it was.
But then don't script it for the presentation. Then
they script it for the presentation because they don't want to die. That's why Twitch players play on easy when they do Let's Plays, because they don't want to die. It's the same thing.
Don't add animations that aren't going to be there either.
There are many animations in Last Spider-Man that are very much akin to what you see in the game. They're just not the exact same animation.
Why aren't they the exact same?
Because
ones,
that exact same animation is only used for one section. Why give you one animation for one section when you can give you 10 for different?
But then why change that section that was already in the presentation?
Because that's just catered and made, and it's made controlled environment for a video.
And why make it look better than the actual game too? Like God rays, fog, better lighting.
That's where the conversation can be had. God rays, texture increases. That I understand. Gameplay wise, I don't agree, but graphic wise, I do agree. I understand where you're coming from.
There needs to be a punishment for that.
The reason why I don't feel cheated out of it is because despite the fact that it didn't look like the E3 presentation, it still looked better than almost every other game that came out in the year anyway.
I guess what I'm trying to say is like when you look at something like CDPR, I feel like that needs to be like fraud tacked on top of false advertisement, because they did both. But in the case of like Insomniac, maybe even God of War, fuck it, even God of War, all that still needs to be a tag of false advertisement too. Rainbow Six Siege.
If you want to hold them all, I understand where you're coming from, and there's a case to be made, obviously.
It's not like this is, poor mom and dad shop down the street. These are like $1 million companies doing this kind of stuff. Like that's what rubs me even worse.
So like I said, I mean, we learned that the PS4 can't do it, and there was concessions that had to be made in order to make the games look as close as possible to the presentations. We agreed already that yes, there is a case to be made for graphically, and they need to be held accountable for it, especially when they, the final product doesn't look the way that they promised. And I agree with all those things. Obviously, I'm of the mind that, the severity of the crime, the punishment should fit the severity of the crime. And then aside from that, while I understand where you're coming from, like, I don't know, I'm just not as bothered by it. It's just, I'm just not. I don't care about it as much as you do, apparently. I mean, maybe I'm wrong for it, and maybe like my mentality is keeping it. Now, I do agree that graphics, like, when there's a big disparity between the graphics, like, holy crap, that looks way worse than what we were promised. Like, yeah, I agree. But it looks pretty close to the final, the final product looks pretty close to the E3 presentation. And ultimately, I got what I wanted out of the game, which was what they promised me. They promised me that I was going to be Spider-Man. And they promised me that I was going to be in an open world New York, and they promised me I was going to be the best Spider-Man that it could possibly be, and that's what I got. They pretty much delivered on their promises, other than maybe the graphical quality. But I mean, animations, again, like, sure, you can say Last of Us, but I mean, the scripted animations that you saw in that demo look pretty close to the ones that we got when you fight like the bosses in Last of Us 1, which are all just scripted like buttons that you press.
Yes and no, because like, let's say I've seen like older gameplay trailers trailers for like, let's say an old Indiana Jones game or whatever, where they were showing off how like every single time you push someone into a car, it had like a different reaction and all that. That was back in the PS2. So
that game didn't come out.
I know. But I was just thinking of that in my mind as an example, because in one case you have the guy coming up to you and then kind of doing that, and then you kind of dodge or whatever, and then if he hits you, just But in the trailer they showed like, I'm gonna come at you, swing at you, I'm gonna dodge, and then it's gonna go into the car and the car reacts. Like you're already removing. Yeah, that's like removing a whole layer of interactivity with your environment around you, and to me that's a problem. Like that level of interaction isn't there.
I think that they're working on it. It's just not there yet, and maybe the next game's gonna have it.
Hopefully.
That to me was a concept demo, and to me it showed me two things. One, they were making Last of Us Part 2, and two, they were working on animations such as those with environmental interactivity. And you know what? For as much as it is, as far as they've come, Last of Us has been one of the ones to get really close to making really cinematic fight sequences that are actually open and combat wise, right? Like even the melee sequences. Even the melee sequences of Last of Us Part 1, like when you get into a melee situation, the camera zooms in and you see the swipe and the character jumps up and hit him in the gut and all that with like a swipe, right? That's not in most other games. In most other games, it's just ow, just like the Angry Joe thing. Ow, and then the character barely animates in reaction to the hits. Like they've been getting closer and closer per game, and to me, it's just like what I'm saying. Back in the day, your comment on the Indiana Jones thing was pretty much showed off for every PS3 game, every Xbox 360 game. Did we get a single game that looked like that? Hell no. Have we gotten closer? Hell yes, and that's what I'm happy about.
Well, GTA looks like it's been. I don't think I've ever seen GTA live or anything like that. And again, I'm not saying about what the game actually gives you, because these games are great and these games are fantastic. I'm just pointing out that I think someone needs to look into how much stuff is actually not going to be included in the final product versus what's promised, because that's akin to false advertisement. They should be punished for that.
Okay.
If the game's actually good afterwards, okay, I don't care. Should there be a fine or something tagged on for changing it too much from what it was on E3? I agree. And
See,
someone else.
Okay, a fine is more reasonable to me than a lawsuit. So yes, that to me makes a lot more sense. Yeah. Okay, I think that and there I do see some agreement. I mean, of course, like I said, I think that we're not going to see that as much on the PS5 as we did on the PS4, because on the PS4 there was clearly, there was a lot of hope for things and promises, and of course, like throughout the development cycles, like you can see they did clear changes and they had to end up like pushing games back. That's what I told you, right? On the PS4 era, it was a massive learning curve for 4K and actually added textures in HD, because back on the PS3, the Naughty Dog was like throwing around Uncharted and stuff left and right like candy. And then when the PS4 came out, they gave us Uncharted 4 years later, or like in 2016, like 3 years later. So no, 4 years, because 3 years because of Last of Us Part 1. Like, yeah, see, look, we got Last of Us 1 and 4 Uncharted in PS3, and then on PS4 we got Uncharted 4, a DLC, and then Last of Us Part 2. Rockstar was throwing Max Payne 3 and GTA 4 and 5 and freaking LA Noire and Red Dead. And then the PS4 came out and they gave us Red Dead 2. So it's clear that development changed, and I think we've gone through a massive learning curve in that generation, that now the PS5 and the Xbox Series X are going to be better for it. Which again, hopefully these guys will join us next week so we can talk about the E3 predictions that we're going to have as to what Xbox is going to show finally, if they're finally show demos, or it's just going to be a bunch of trailers again about empty promises and false hope, and hopefully we can talk about all the crazy things that maybe Sony will do in return. I think the problem is that Sony's just waiting. They want to do what you're saying. They want to show you the actual game. They don't want to lie to you. They don't want to lie to their fans. They want to show the games and show, hey, we're actually trying to do something. They want to show you what it is,
Yeah.
So I think what's going to happen is they're probably going to have a smaller event, not as big as like Xbox E3 presentation and that. And they're just going to do it as a complete direct reply to whatever Xbox shows. I think that's what they're waiting. They're probably just waiting and holding off whatever they want to show off until Xbox shows off whatever they're going to show off. Yeah. That's my opinion. But whatever, we'll talk about it next week on E3 predictions and Soulsborne difficulty, which hopefully Danilo will call in and
I guess just to finish off on that, I'll give my final opinions on it. Game-wise, I'm happy where most companies are. False advertisement needs to stop. I think it's just going to go there eventually, because you're starting to see more accountability with shitty game dev. So I think false advertising's next. Obviously, people are getting smarter and smarter. Technology is getting more advanced. You could compare E3 trailers to the, and stuff to the moment a game releases. So people are becoming more and more aware. Hopefully, Kobe Cat wakes from his slumber and he literally just dismantles like every single game like ever. So that way people realize even more like how much they're lied to in a lot of these cases. And I'm always on the side of morality. Like I always want to I'm always vote for morality. So I don't like lying, no matter how big or small. I hope that there starts to be consequences to people that lie, even if it's a small one. If it's always in the against the benefit of the consumer, then let them be punished for it, and just have the punishment fit the crime, and that's it. I think that's pretty much it.
Either way, I'm excited for Ratchet and Clank. Whatever Insomniac throws at me, they got my money already. I don't care what it looks like. It just needs to be good. So
now that's something I want to look forward to as well. I want to see if there is downgrades once that game comes out or whatever. And if that's the case, if Insomniac, if you guys downgrade for a second time, I don't want to hear because that just means you guys are filth. And at that point, you guys deserve to be made fun of and ridiculed.
At least Miles Morales didn't have any downgrades. Not that I could find. So.
If they would have stayed quiet on the Spider-Man 2018 one, I would have been like, yeah, maybe people are just being ridiculous. But the fact that they doubled down and lied about it even more is like, it's just no, that's not right.
Maybe they should have just stayed quiet. Is what you're saying? Yeah. Okay. Well.
Sometimes if someone trolls you, the best thing is not to give them a reaction. Don't feed the fire because then it's just stupid. Like, I mean, yes, they called you. A lot of people maybe people pushed it too far. You know, maybe they got death threats. They said, no, your game is entirely ass because there's not puddles. It doesn't work that way either. But if someone tells you, hey, man, what happened? The lighting not the same. Yeah. The reflection's not the same. What happened here? And you literally respond with,
well, that's actually my hope. You know, hopefully this podcast can grow big enough one day where we can invite like actual like interview developers and they can explain to us like, you know, what's the stigma around E3 or what happened in that time period. Like, I want to know what's going on. You know, they'll probably give us something about like marketing man was like, you know, like God, and they were telling us that they were commanding us to.
Well, yeah, that's the whole thing about corporations is that they have like different divisions. So maybe what a developer wants,
big market man told me to do this.
Yeah,
otherwise
exactly.
my I wouldn't get paid for at the end of the week. You know, so I don't know
something like that. Some sort of forced explanation.
Yeah. But anyways, aside from that, guys, as today you guys saw, we had people commenting, and we always react to the comments. If you feel you have something you want to say because you're just that passionate about it, feel free to let us know. We'll set up a Discord and you guys can call in.
We do have a Discord actually.
No, but I'm saying like set it up because we didn't. I don't think we set it up today.
Yeah, we didn't. Oh well,
like turned it on and prepared it for calls. But yes, we will have that at a moment. We'll have call-ins. We'll take in your questions, comments, whatever they are.
Make sure you check us out when we're live, either on YouTube or Twitch. That's at Co-Op Syndicate on Twitch. Or you could just look up the Co-Op Syndicate on YouTube, and you'll see us when we're live.
We're actually very close to getting our own link on that. Any sub there helps us out. I think once we reach 1,000. Look, Dark Sage here saying he has a question for this panel. Go ahead,
sure, Dark Sage, fire it away.
Give it, throw it our way.
I guess we should do Q&As at the end if people want to.
No, we can do Q&As whenever people want. Like I said, obviously we're gonna like a podcast moves through like 100 different topics a day, especially if it's a good one. It's like there's a lot to talk about. So you guys gotta talk about it whenever you have the idea, because if we forget, you know. I mean, I don't know. God knows how many times I forgot.
We gotta turn alerts on and stuff too. Today, look, we got Ali Ibrahim following us on YouTube, and we might have gotten some alerts from Twitch that we didn't see, so we have to turn alerts back on. I'll just make them muted so that way it doesn't ruin the recordings. But it'll be nice to see it pop up on screen for those of the people that like watching us. We're just waiting for Dark Sage's question here, and then we'll wrap up. I don't know if anyone else wants to ask any questions. We might have a little discussion here with Dark Sage, and then we'll call it an end for the podcast today.
Yeah. But yeah, talking about that, we gotta get Danilo, our first official caller, so we can
caller.
Yeah, like so we can like have him in here, and we can have this large discussion about him giving you free tips on Bloodborne. That pissed me off a little bit.
If we're gonna go to having the longer set streams like how we're doing now, we also need to see how many episodes we're gonna do and stuff, because I'm concerned about the buzz.
I'm gonna be honest, because I don't want to be like a hypocrite or two-faced, but in the form of Danilo, it's like I'm upset at the fact that he helped you, because I believe that, you know, you can seek for help and also I'm upset that he helped you specifically, because you're always toting how those games aren't that hard, and I want you to actually experience the difficulty. And if he just tells you everything, then you're not gonna experience.
I mean, he didn't tell me like how to fight most things or anything. Like I just asked him about controls and stuff, because there was no like menu or anything to like even have me find out about stuff. And I didn't even realize I had a weapon.
That's the fun though. You press the buttons, you figure it out.
I was trying to slap dogs and shit, and that doesn't work.
Nah, but that's just you. That you just like, nah, bro. I'm gonna fight this Lycan, bro. I'm gonna take him down before I get there. Bro.
Yeah, but I was trying to karate chop him because I didn't realize I even picked up a weapon yet.
Oh, there you go.
So let's see. One of my favorite series of games is historical war based games. I hear true Call of Duty game is going to be back in World War II. I am very curious, though, if it would ever be possible for us gamers to get a game based in World War II from the Axis point of view, as a regular German soldier in the Wehrmacht. Is that how you pronounce that? The Wehrmacht? Okay. Yeah. And add a more human element to the conflict. So Dark Sage. Okay, good question from Dark Sage, actually. So what I think about that, if what you're referring to is World War II, specifically fighting from the Axis side, I don't know if there's ever been anything against, like, let's say playing as an Italian or as a Japanese soldier in that period of time. But I think you have to consider that the gaming industry is international and different people have different feelings about different points of history. So, like, let's say Americans are very much against the censorship of history.
You can't say the N word, by the way.
Okay, I won't say it.
You can't say that.
I won't say that. Don't worry. So, like, Americans are very much against the censorship of history in any like faculty, at least a good majority of them, because Americans aren't a monolith. So everyone has different opinions on this as well. But I think for the most part, we say things, we just teach history, at least how they present it to us or whatever, without cutting out symbolism and all that sort of different stuff. A place like Germany, and how, obviously their feelings on a national level is completely different to how it was back in the time of World War II. Their take on it is that they don't like toting or showing symbolisms of the national feeling at that time, or like the ideology of the government at that time, because they have regret and disgust. I
don't know what that is about exactly, but I just do want to point in that I did have a classmate once in high school, and the teacher asked him, hey, what do you guys learn about history during this time period? And then the student literally replied, oh, it doesn't exist in the textbooks. Like, they don't have it in certain schools.
Right.
They don't even have it. Like, you don't know what happened during that time period. You have to learn it from outside sources.
Right, because they're just that disgusted and abhorred by it. Yeah. Which there's different approaches to take on it, and different feelings you could have on it. So to tie that back into what your question is, and I'll let Jordan give his own answer if he wants afterwards. I feel like it's not going to happen shortly. Like, to put it short, it's not going to happen because of the fact that if you do make a game that covers the Axis point of view during the war, you might not be able to sell that game in Europe as well and stuff like that. So on a purely business savvy, like capitalistic standpoint, I don't think it's going to happen, because now you even look at like World War II games for the most part, and you see that like a lot of the symbolism that was used by the Axis in those times has been removed, and now you just get like cross flags and stuff instead of the other stuff. So,
Dark Sage replied by saying, one of the misconceptions of gaming today and war today is that all Germans were evil. I am not saying that they were great human beings, but most of the elite units, the SS stormtroopers, were the ones committing the war crimes, and the regular German soldiers had no idea what was going on. Okay, so again, these are types of things that, while it's understandable, what Michael's trying to say too, it's not just the fact that these games were made these certain ways. They're also made based off of like the feelings that people had towards the intended audience too, because they want to make the money and all that. Like, if they were to make a game today where they tried to show like what really happened from the German side, like a lot of people would probably, react and discuss that, because they're going to remember, well, the Americans are going to be passionate about whatever happened with, the American side, right? They're going to be like, oh, Germans are bad. But then, like, the Polish are going to have their own opinion on that. The Russians are going to have their own opinion on that. The Japanese are going to have their own opinions, which rather the Japanese actually at the time working, they were working on the Axis side. So, I mean, they're going to have their own opinion, and everyone's going to have their own opinion. But what Michael's trying to say is that it depends on a case-by-case basis. If a game were to come out like that, everywhere but in Germany, the Germans would be evil. And then in Germany, they would finally make the product that you want, where it would be like, okay, the Germans aren't evil. There's a not that there aren't evil, but like there's like there's like a black and white system there. Whereas in certain ways it would be made that way.
That's not what I'm saying. No,
I'm not saying that's what I'm speaking. What I'm replying now. I'm sorry. What I'm replying now is that I think that that's how a game would turn out.
I don't,
because that's what happened with what's this game that everyone loves where all you do is literally do that stuff.
Wolfenstein.
Wolfenstein, yeah. Everywhere but in Germany, you see the flags of the original presentation of that. But in Germany, everything was nerfed and changed, and they changed the whole story and this and that, just to make it so it's not as directly harmful to. That's what I'm trying to say. Well, like everywhere else, it would come out one way, and then they would change it for.
I mean, okay, I can't speak that much on it because I don't live there or whatever, and I don't know what's going on. So I can't say that they straight up just don't want to acknowledge any of it. But that's what it sounds like to me, where they don't even want to mention it. They don't want They don't want
Yeah.
anything to do with it. So what I'm trying to say is that if gamers, because the question is, if what Dark Sage is asking is that to clear some of the misconceptions of that era or whatever, and to give a more humanitarian exploration of World War II, if it would be possible to get a game like that in modern day. And I don't feel that that's the case, because unfortunately the gaming community isn't a monolith where we're all okay with all seeing the same thing.
I think it will happen. It just won't be widely applauded, or it won't, like, people will be in heavy disagreement of it.
Someone could
and
if they wanted to. I guess is what you're saying. So sure, someone could if they wanted to. I would probably see it being more of like an indie project or like a smaller studio taking it on.
Yeah.
Because bigger studios are going to have massive budgets, and to make up for those massive budgets, they're going to need to get the sales to back that up. And ultimately, a big company isn't going to be interested in making something that could be considered polarizing, because then they could miss out on potential sales. Like, I mean, Modern Warfare did fine for itself, but I think they did face some backlash in terms of having sales in Russia because of the fact that they essentially
the
drew
Russians
out to be like terrorists or something like that in the game.
To add to that too, like, I actually have a couple friends that live in Germany at the moment. They're not German born, but they've been living there for a long time and adopted the culture and like the way of living and all stuff. And sometimes I mention some of these words from history, not knowing that to them it's they consider it as a little offensive, right? So I mean, they talk to me as like, hey, look, like I'm cool with it, but just if you ever meet a German person, like, don't say those words because they're harmful. And I'm saying stuff like SS Stormtroopers, and to them they find that like, oh, we don't want to talk about that history.
Yeah,
which
because
is what you were saying.
It's still like
it's like there's still people.
They're not even okay with references.
Yeah, there's still people that don't want to get to that point, in the same way that people don't want to talk about the events that happened in Fallujah in the new game is coming out, 7 days in Fallujah. Like, they don't want to talk about that because there's people like, oh, I want to show the atrocities that happened there, and then there's people who's like, I don't want to be reminded of the atrocities that happened there. So it's like a balance scale, right?
Yeah.
Right now it's balancing where people still don't want to remember that, right? Like, even the US, if somebody in Germany were to come out and make a game about the Twin Towers, they're gonna be like, hey, stop. Like, no, we don't want that. We don't want to see that. We don't want to remember that day. Please don't.
Yeah. So it's possible for it to happen. Is someone gonna take it on?
I mean, look,
maybe if you're interested in game development, that's something you could do.
I would find there's two groups of people in this world that I would find crazy enough. I don't know their name, but it would be that one company that made that one game, the horror game where they made fun of the Chinese leader dude or whatever, as like they made the poo joke on him or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And then the other group would be the guy that's making the I Am Jesus game on Steam. Those are the two groups that I think would go far enough to not care about being offensive and just do like what they want in their original image.
Yeah.
Would it be interesting to see a story of a German that isn't, that wasn't corrupted and maybe could have been seen as a hero in the world if the world would have known? I mean, it would be interesting to see this piece of history, because ultimately what happens in war, once the losing side loses a large portion of their history. And I think that's what Darkseid is trying to say. He wants to bring to light the side of history that isn't known,
looking more into individualism rather than just the umbrella like lens point of view of the history. I guess.
I mean, look, one game that I found interesting, which I didn't play at all, and because kind of the company just kind of blows because EA sucks, is Battlefield V or Battlefield 5, right? That game was based off of, I think, World War II, but they, instead of showing the Americans, they showed the Polish and the surrounding countries that weren't as big as the US. And they showed their viewpoint. So, I mean, maybe we'll get it someday.
You could take all sorts of look at all that stuff too, and there's been movies that are like that, where it looks at individuals specifically, even on the German sides that were, against what was going on at that time. So it's definitely possible to have a game. It just depends,
what I'll say is, like, that conversation is definitely one to be had. I'm not sure I'm in the right mindset today, but what I want to say is, I would like to see something like somebody exploring that, because obviously there's not everyone's inherently evil, right? Like, to say that all humans are inherently evil is to say that evil is banality. And you know what? There is a point. I actually, in psychology, just to add to this, there was something I read in a book for one of my international relations classes, where it was saying that this person who was studying the psychology of what happened to the army at that time on Germany's side, they were calling it the banality of evil, or saying it's just dumb, boring evil, because what their point was making is that it's not that they're causing the crime, it's that they're causing the crime in compliance to the people who are actually evil.
Right, like the ignorance.
Yeah,
their
and, like,
ignorance, or
because
they're not acting
the
as
soldiers at the
contributing
time. They were, when they were being interviewed or like, you know, like interrogated, they were saying, I don't know, I was just doing it because my leader said so, or otherwise my family would be taken away or something. So like to his point, there is truth that there is a large portion of the people who did work for the military at that time and were not in, like they weren't okay with it. They just had to tone down their feelings and just become a robot because they couldn't grasp the full capacity of what they were doing.
I mean, I don't want to get too deep into the philosophy of it, because then it's already getting into,
like I said,
something
I'm
more
not ready
incendiary.
for the conversation today.
But it's like it could go. You know, that's like a whole philosophical thing, and we don't necessarily do meta here. That's like, you could say that compliance for self-preservation is still evil.
We do meta, just not for real life.
Yeah, exactly. You can say that compliance for self-preservation is evil. You can say that it's not. So
yeah, that like I said, it's not a conversation I'm ready for today. Maybe we'll have it one day in maybe Sergio's podcast.
We're a gaming podcast though, but that's to answer your question, Darksage. I hope,
it would be interesting to see someday.
I hope that was a good enough answer for you. I think we could see it. You just need the right developer or studio to take it on.
And you need to be in the right region, because each region is obviously going to have their own version.
They could be a team that works on it in Germany.
Censorship.
Well, maybe that's illegal to work on it in Germany. I don't think that the right region matters. I think
no.
You
I'm
need
talking
to
about
plan
for censorship. I'm talking about there's certain regions that are obviously going to have their own version of censorship. I was going to say,
you have to look at each region and their market. You have to understand their market, and then you have to plan for how your sales are going to be affected by trying to enter certain markets, depending on what material you're putting in your game. If you know you're going to be making a game about this, you should probably make it knowing that you're probably not going to be able to sell it in Germany unless you make certain changes and stuff. So you have to, that's what I'm saying. You have to account for that.
Or whatever, countries unaccepting of it. Yeah. But it could happen one day. I mean, as time goes on, people begin to heal from some of these scars, and eventually we'll see it, right?
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, well, I'm saying we could even see it now. You just need someone to either get the idea or pick it up, which is I was telling Darksage, maybe consider being the one to do it, or maybe someone will just do it. Who knows?
It'll actually be interesting. Maybe
it's not that Modern Warfare didn't stop itself from doing the whole Russian thing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you're okay with this, but maybe one day if Darksage would want to, he could, like, we could have him as a caller, and then he could probably share with us, like maybe like a hero that he thinks was like a good person in that time or something. He can share a story in his viewpoint, because I mean, everybody deserves a voice, right?
Yeah.
So maybe we can have that one day. Stick around. We'll definitely have this conversation someday in the future. But like I said, if a game like 6 Days in Fallujah is going to come out, I'm sure eventually we'll get something like what he's asking for.
Well, I guess that pretty much wraps it up for this episode of the Co-op Syndicate. We do got to go, because right now we're hitting the 3-hour mark, and I only have a limited amount of time that we could put on the Buzzsprout, unless Jordan wants to pitch in a couple $roonies here and there. So we're going to be calling it. It was pretty good content
we're
today.
going to have to end up paying, because the next week's episode is going to be just as long, and it's going to get out, so we'll get to it. But if you stick around, we'll have this conversation again in the future, I'm sure.
Yeah. Again, guys, if you want to support, make sure you subscribe or follow on Twitch or YouTube. We do have a Patreon where you can support us at a bunch of different tiers for a bunch of different types of rewards. We also have some fresh Co-op Syndicate merch that you could grab from our merch store as well. And
if you want to catch some of our previous topics or episodes to bring out your questions for future episodes,
check out the YouTube, or if you want to listen to us while you're doing, some chores or driving around. We're on the Buzzsprout. We're on all sorts of different podcast applications like Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts and all that. So check us out. Deezer, all that good stuff. And we'll see you guys next time. I've been your co-host, Michael C. Moore.
I'm your other co-host, Jordan G. Marcos.
Happy gaming.
We'll see you next week.